Live from the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas. This is a special edition of the Bunker Bob Show, and welcome once again to the final session of the Republican Convention. And this is the session that everyone waits for. If you're a delegate and you've been here in this situation before, if you've ever been a delegate, you understand that today and this session is the most important, because this is where we establish our platform, and establishing our platform is the key to what a Republican is. If you want to know, when people say I'm a Republican, well, this platform explains what it means to be a Republican. And it is great to have you back. If you've been following me, if you've been watching from the Legislative Priority Committee, I started broadcasting on Monday, the Legislative Priorities Committee meetings. And every day we went through that, and then I've been broadcasting the general sessions, which is behind me now. And obviously there's not a lot of people here right now because they're all coming back from lunch. So we are supposed to convene in about 10 or 15 minutes. Let's see, about 11 minutes from now, and they typically are starting on time. So I'm fairly certain that we are going to be rocking and rolling when they get going. So this is the copy. This is a copy of what every delegate who is here. Every delegate got a copy of this morning. Now, this was a little controversial because last night we started to debate the rules of the party, and we did not have a copy of the rules. It was all electronic, and the problem for that is that. I'm sorry, I was holding this up, but this is the rules. Sorry about that. This is the rules of the party. It's the rules, the platform, and legislative priorities. Now, yesterday, when we started debating the rules, as I said, there was no one had a paper copy of the rules, and so. Let's see. I'm making sure that we've got a healthy stream. Yep, we're in good shape. But this is important because a lot of people were having trouble getting it in on their smartphones because the internet connection in the hall is so terrible. Understandably, we've got thousands of people who are here and that are basically trying to share the same Wi-Fi network, and it really doesn't work very well when you have that many people trying to get on and trying to look this up. So we started debating the rules before most delegates had a copy of them, and so that became a bone of contention. We started debating it. We had a hard stop last night at 6, and at 6 we adjourned, moved on to dinners and things like that, and reconvened this morning. And this morning we reconvened at 9 a.m. and we listened to an hour and a half of speeches. And the problem, that's normal for a convention, but the problem that I have talked about many times, and the problem that I continue to have with some of the speeches that we hear from those who are elected officials and things like that, are that they say they talk about things that we all agree on. They talk about things that have nothing to do with I'm talking about elected officials, nothing to do with their wheelhouse. They talk about federal issues and Joe Biden and things like that. When this is a state convention, these are state offices, with the exception of our U.S. senators. And with the exception of our members of Congress, and I don't know that we've had a member of Congress speak. We had, and as I said yesterday, this will forever be called the John Cornyn convention. And the reason why is because he was booed and jeered so unmercifully. And I have spoken with multiple fellow delegates. Now, I haven't missed a state convention since turning 18, so I have quite a bit of experience in these conventions. Every 2 years these occur, and never, ever have I seen any elected official, any sitting member Republican, booed and jeered. And when I say Cornyn was booed and jeered, we're not talking about a few people. We're talking about a overwhelming majority of this body that basically just would not let him speak. He continued to speak. Throughout his speech, it was just boos and jeered. And the reason why is because Cornyn has proven that he is more interested in working with Democrats than he is with Republicans like Ted Cruz, and he is working on a bill to limit the Second Amendment, but came out yesterday patronizing the delegates by telling him what a great person he is on the Second Amendment, on the issue of the Second Amendment. Most of his speech, I would say, gosh, 40% of the opening of 40% of his speech, all at the beginning, 40% of that at least. I should go back and try to analyze that, but was all about the Second Amendment and his leading the fight to protect our gun rights. And nothing could be further from the truth. The delegates were just unmerciful with Senator Cornyn, and if he hadn't figured out, this is not a friendly audience when you are a moderate at best Republican, when you are someone who works, who's basically a career politician. Cornyn has been in office 20, almost 30 years in the Senate, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe it's yeah, I think it's over 20 years he's been in the Senate. He's been an elected official most all his life. And when you work so hard to be part of the furniture of the U.S. Senate, this body behind me and alongside me, this is the grassroots. These are the people who come out and they talk about limited government, and they don't look at the federal government as our friend. And John Cornyn came out and has become basically part of a fixture of Washington. Now, he also highlighted his role on the Judiciary Committee, which he has done a good job of choosing and supporting our Supreme Court justices that like Alito and our latest one, Barrett, Coney Barrett, and others that escaped me for some reason. But he's been okay on those issues. But this body is not okay with his stance on the Second Amendment. Ultimately, because that's one of our legislative priorities. It's still one of our legislative priorities. And Senator Cornyn is not helping that situation. It's all, unfortunately, political, obviously. But he was not very well praised, not very well liked yesterday, and I think it will go down in history as probably the one time that Republican grassroots said no. I'd be surprised if Cornyn ran for a fifth term. I think it's going for a fifth term, so it's got to be more. I'm almost sure it's either a fourth or fifth term. It's got to be a fifth term. I'd be surprised if he runs for a fifth term after that reception, if he hadn't figured out the writing on the wall. But the problem is, if he does run, we need to make sure that we have a good conservative who's going to be able to challenge him and raise a formidable challenge in the primary. One of the things that yesterday I was very impressed with was Lieutenant Governor Patrick, who really focused in his attention on the relationship with Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, which was cold at best when they were running against one another, and it was a very chilling experience. Now, I was a Cruz guy, so I was one of those Republicans that basically held my nose when I voted for Trump, because I really did believe that he was not a true Republican. And turns out we could not have found a better Republican to lead our party, to lead our nation, than Donald J. Trump. And that's the thing. And I think that today is important, because this is what we're talking about, the party platform. The party platform is what's going to be debated over these next 3 hours. We're going to finish legislative priorities first, and then we're going to be debating the party platform. And that party platform, as I've talked about again and again, most people who are Republicans, most people who are Democrats, have actually never read the Republican platform. They have no idea what it says. And I would argue that most Democrats have never read the Democrat platform either. When I meet with Democrats, I typically, one of the things I will talk about, if we're talking politics, that is I'd like for you to look at the Republican platform. I'd like for you to just show me, where is it that you disagree with our platform? And here's the Democrat platform. Where do you agree or disagree with that platform? This is the one way that the mass migration from the Democrat to the Republican Party is happening now, not just because we have a president that is driving our economy into the ground, and gas prices are on the rise. We've stopped the effort to drill our efforts to drill oil, and so that we can become, as we were when President Trump was in office, we were energy independent. We don't talk about that in the national media, but we were independent. We were energy independent. Now that we're no longer energy independent, but dependent on Russia, dependent on the Saudis, we are seeing our gas prices go through the roof. And so a lot of people are reconsidering their position as to why they're a Republican, why they're a Democrat. And the first thing I will do when someone talks to me is I will say, would you just take a look at the party platform. The party platform is something that if you want to take a look at the proposed platform, just go to Texas GOP Convention 2022. And if you go to that website, if you Google that, or don't go to that website, just Google that or do a search for that, you'll see the convention website. It'll bring you right to the convention website. And on that front page, you will see links, and one of you've got the link to the party platform. Take a look at it, read it, see what you think, and try to identify. Okay, I don't agree with this, but I agree with this, or is there anything you don't agree with, or is there anything you agree with? That would be something that is worth looking at, don't you think? If you're going to be an honest individual. But that's really not what happens, and so a lot of people have no idea why they are what they are, and Hispanics overwhelmingly are moving to the Republican Party because they're starting to read what it means to be a Republican. Doesn't mean Republicans follow through on the platform, but that's what it means to be a Republican. We have now reconvened, and the chairman of the party is now at the podium, and he is starting the meeting.
Probably about 15 minutes or so, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, to fill out those ballots, on which case then we will take up the platform. Now, we're talking about the wording of the platform. We're going to go section by section. Each section of the platform has a maximum of 15 minutes of debate. So it's going to go fairly quick. However, we have 10 sections, so that's 2.5 hours, plus we have 2 resolutions. On each of those sections, you control how much debate we have. So effectively, you control when we finish our business and go home. And you can move to end debate if we are starting to get towards our time. where people are leaving or you guys have to go. So ultimately, you control where we go with this. Of course, in order to do that, we do need to wrap up our legislative priorities as soon as possible. So we certainly would be amenable to a motion to call the question on our legislative priorities so we can vote and then start the platform consideration. So Mike, sorry, I have an interrupting motion over here on one.
Rachel Hooper, SD 13. I call the question.
The question's been called to vote on the, the legislative priorities. Now we're going to vote on whether or not to call the question and end debate, and then if we vote yes, your SD caucus chairs are going to hand out the ballots and we'll give you about 15 minutes to fill them out. So all in favor of calling the question on the legislative priorities, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The question's called. SD caucus chairs, can you please begin handing out your ballots? And I will have Legislative Priorities Committee Chairman, the Honorable Nathan Macias, come to the stage. I'll recognize him and he'll explain how you fill it out. But if you can begin handing those out now, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so now this is the time where ballots are handed out by Senate district, and I am going to see if I can. I may have to step away from the mic so that I can vote on the legislative.
There's no microphone second. Well. There were multiple audio seconds. If you'd like to vote again, we can go through that and take the 5 minutes it takes to revote. Are you going to continue with your point of order? Which I'll sustain, and then we can put everybody through the process if you'd like.
He's daring.
No.
We have a couple of point of orders.
Consider the point of order withdrawn.
Still have point of order lights that are flashing up, and so.
Chair recognizes the Honorable Nathan Macias.
Let's see.
Thank you, Chairman. Delegates, allow me to remind everybody that there will be on your screens the 15 priorities, and they're listed in the ranked order from your Legislative Priorities Committee. But ultimately, you will decide the top 8. On your ballot that you will receive, allow me to, it says in there, note, you may only vote yes on up to 8 of the proposed legislative priorities. Ballots with more than 8 yes votes will be considered spoiled and not counted. So again, just to remind you, up to, you can do less than 8, but no more than 8 yes votes on any listed priority. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. First thing, I want an announcement. Can everybody give our pages a big round of applause? Thank you so much for everything you're doing here today. And by the way, when we get to the platform as well, I want to point out, a gentleman asked it earlier, that it's inconvenient to obviously make the motion, run up to the Sergeant-at-Arms and give a copy of your motion to the Sergeant-at-Arms. You can hand a copy to the page, and the pages will run it up for you. So that's how we'll do that. Let me take while we're voting, let me take the 3 in the back.
Burgundy Kane, SD 11. Point of information.
Yes.
Will we be barring the doors for this vote?
You bar 'em? Yeah. Well, thank you. Point of orders is, point of information, yes, we will be. Will the Sergeant at Arms please, please keep people from coming in? Should we wait till the ballots are handed out? Yeah. Actually, my apologies. Can the Sergeant at Arms wait till the ballots are handed out? We'll give a couple minutes for the ballots to be handed out. I don't want to stop anybody from voting. So let's let the ballots be handed out. We'll continue to let people in so they'll get a couple minutes to come. I saw a text message just went out. Can we get mic 4?
So the we got a lot
Yeah,
of.
that's me. Okay. Hi, Lauren Landivar, SD9. I've been waiting to be recognized by the chair. I would like division on that vote to end the discussion on the legislative priorities. I've been trying to call for division since that vote was taken and have not been recognized.
Second.
Well, yeah, that doesn't need a second. It was, we've moved on. We're now in voting. It'd be out of order to go back and do a division. I can tell you it wasn't close.
I appeal to the decision of the chair.
You can't. The decision, we've moved on. The decision's done.
Because you didn't recognize me.
Okay.
Wow.
Yep. Number 2.
Yes, Port of Information. This is Tammy Nielsen with SD6. We don't have a chairman or ballots.
Well, yeah, your chairman would have the ballots.
But he's not here.
Gotcha. We'll send someone out to you. SD6?
Yes, sir.
Got it. Thank you. Going to mic 3.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Sumacek, SD 17. I would like to ask a clarification on the voting. I've looked at the Scantrons. We still need to figure how do we get the top 8 of what?
You are not using the Scantrons. In your box is ballots for the legislative priorities.
I
They will
stand
have
corrected.
Numbers 1 through 15, and we're putting the 1 through 15 up on the screen so you could easily look at them all and just number them. You don't have to restate what the numbers are. Just next to the number corresponding, just vote yes to between 0 and 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mic 4, please.
We need to, no. We need to get
You're on.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
SD4 needs ballots, and our chairman is not here right now.
Okay. Who's the chair?
Ted LeBlanc.
Who is it?
Ted LeBlanc, SD4. I take that back. We've got a correction.
What is it?
Ted's not here.
I'm SD4 Harris County.
If any SDs do not have ballots, we know about SD6. We're calling your caucus chair. Is SD4 still an issue?
No.
We're good? Okay. If anybody else is having an issue, please come to the mic. Turn on the white light.
Okay, and so I have had an opportunity to vote, and as have a lot of the delegates. So everyone is actually now voting, and so you can kind of see everyone making that process. And obviously, with this many people, it takes a little bit of time to get all of that put together. And so while that's happening, I have been able to finagle John White to join me. John, of course, is part of SD2 and a fellow Rockwallian, and we've known each other for quite some time now. We've kind of shared a battlefield in Republican politics.
Yes.
And John is the representative for SD2 on the platform committee, and that's what I would like to talk about there. John, first of all, this convention didn't start for you on Thursday as it did most delegates. It started on Monday.
On Monday morning early, yes.
Yeah, and so tell me a little bit about, so that people kind of get a sense of what that process looks like. Tell us a little bit about the process.
Well, there are 31 Senate districts, and so there are 31 of us, one person per Senate district on the panel. Chairman Matt Patrick did a masterful job of leading it, and his work started months ago.
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of what we were doing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, he is working on months ago, trying to get everything in and homogenizing so that every type of, particularly the topics that are important to Texans, were presented. And so what we did was
Now just ahead of that, we had our county convention, obviously.
That's right.
All the Senate districts had county conventions or Senate district conventions. Platform positions were presented. We did that in our
we started
convention.
in the precinct conventions.
Correct.
And this particular year, because of the fact that we had so many new precinct chairs, it was impossible for someone to run around and to guide them through the process. So we were able to, fortunately, Rockwall County being so small, every precinct was represented and grouped into the what we call Liberty Hall of our county
courthouse.
Yep. And so there we went through the process of receiving propositions to the platform and moving on from there. And then we had the platform committee in the county platform. There are some of these committees are Senate district because they're sort of like Dallas has multiple Senate districts.
Right.
They don't have a county.
Right.
But we have just a county convention, and there they were brought in, and people spoke for and against them, and so forth. And
during our county convention,
exactly,
yes. Mm-hmm.
and just what we were doing this week,
Yes.
as a matter of fact, same process. And so it's been this way all the way through. And the two hot buttons for me
Yes.
were school choice and the Convention of States. And I came to the conclusion, seriously, and I'm not running anybody down, but I came to the conclusion, based on testimony, even of some of the members on the platform committee, that the ignorance of our voters is more dangerous to us than the nuclear weapons of Russia.
Now, you didn't originate that. That came from.
I don't know if I originated that, but it's
yeah,
definitely my
yes,
thoughts this week. I realized it.
Sure.
Yeah,
but it's absolutely true.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is very dangerous. The ignorance is very dangerous. So what I'm going to do, ahead of the next convention,
Yes.
I'm going to be working on some ideas I have to bring things up on the internet in a secure way, so that there's a standard format that we have a conventionized per regulations format for propositions.
Yeah.
But more speedily, we can get there to the point of getting the ones that are homogenized, like if you have 10,000 of them, like you and I both have share a common platform.
We do.
We probably more than one, but there's one in particular you and I share very much in common. And so we may have 20 of those now.
Right.
We want to get it down to one.
Right.
And it's going to be on the platform, too, by the way.
Yes.
So the Convention of States was one of that.
Was the second one.
Yeah, there was Convention of States and the school choice.
Yeah.
In the case of Convention of States, listening to public testimony, people saying things like, well, it's not constitutional.
Yeah.
Or it's only been used once. Well, the reality, no, it's never been used as far as the Convention of States, but 100% of all 27 amendments to the Constitution were done according to Article 5 of the Constitution. Along the way of our American history, what's happened was there was this compelling voice. Well, we need to be able to vote directly for our state senators, our U.S. senators. And so the 17th Amendment came into play.
Yes.
And so basically what we have is we've turned the Senate and the House into one big House of Representatives.
That is true, yes.
Okay? And the original intent of the original Constitution is there would be two senators representing the states, and they would be selected by and accountable to the state legislatures.
Exactly.
Meaning, if they're not doing what we want as a whole,
Yes.
they get snatched back and replaced.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
so that issue. But the Convention of States is, in fact, a bona fide constitutional process. And the thing that was amazing to me was so many people were speaking against it that they overlook this marvelous little two-letter conjunction that says or.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
So, but if in the end, through all the discussions and everything else, here's what happened. The first time we voted on it,
The first time in the committee that you voted on
in the platform committee, first time we voted, it was defeated by one vote.
Yeah.
Okay? And by people I thought would know better, or should know better, or believe better, but it would surprise me. But then what happened was we had the Senate caucuses, okay? And those same people came back.
Okay, they were elected to the permanent committee.
Yes.
Because you served on as a temporary.
That's right. I was on
member.
temporary.
You had to be elected by our caucus
Yep.
to be on the permanent. Go ahead.
So we came back to vote, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
Those people, several of them,
heard from there.
They said, well, I do oppose this, but the vast majority of the people in my Senate district said they want it.
Wow.
And he said, so I'm going to change my vote and vote for it. And so we had
they were honorable
vote
people
for it.
These are honorable people who serve on the committee, even though we disagree.
Following the Republican form of government.
Yes.
Representing others, not themselves.
John, I don't just think it's that people don't think it's on the part of the Constitution. I think both of these issues, school choice and the Constitution of the states, are opposed by people because of fear and because they're afraid. Now, for convention of the states, they're afraid that if we were to do something like that, we would tear apart the Constitution. It would that the states would just obliterate it. They're fearful of that. That is not a virtue of Republicans.
No.
Why would we be fearful of Democrats? Why would we be fearful of this process?
Well, you know, back when I was in sales, I taught my salespeople. I covered the whole southern USA, and I taught them never ask a question that can be answered yes or no. Do you want to buy this? No. Because that's our initial response to everything.
You sure?
So because we lack enough information, our quick answer is almost always going to be no.
Okay.
You know, would you like to jump off the Hoover Dam? Oh no. You know,
Right.
Of course not.
Right.
You know, but you might ask them, would you want to jump into Lake Ray Hubbard? You know, they might say, yeah, it's kind of a hot day, you know.
Yeah.
But you never know what the question. See, you never want to ask questions yes or no. You want to ask questions that provoke thinking. You see? And a lot of times people will answer their own questions when you ask them a question.
Okay.
And so what we're doing is asking people questions, and we're asking them for their input. And as they listen to it, what people are realizing, there's nothing to fear. It is constitutional.
Yes.
Congress is not out of the picture. It says Congress can decide, is it going to be 2/3 or 3/4 of the states, okay? Out here, all we're doing is, and we've already voted it. Texas has already accepted the Convention of States through the Texas legislature.
Yes.
What we're doing this time is we're getting it back in, but we're going to eliminate the sunset clause,
right,
so that it will naturally sunset if the convention never happens.
Exactly.
It's a natural thing.
Because there was a limit of 10 years
right,
on that legislation.
That's correct.
So it's about to expire next year. So
yes, it
that's
will.
why it's necessary for us
That's
to
exactly right.
make it a priority. Yeah.
Make it a priority.
Yeah, and so we talk about fear, and of course, Texas Eagle Forum is actually very much opposed to Convention of the States. And last year, or 2 years ago, Bunny Pounds, who's a big Eagle Forum friend, because Bunny is a friend, and she respectfully disagreed with that, even though the overwhelming majority of our Senate district is supportive of the Constitutional Convention. She helped get rid of that, though, on the platform. We had to put it in a minority report. Yeah. And the reason, so Eagle Forum is opposed to it primarily because Phyllis Schlafly, the founder of Eagle Forum, met with or rubbed shoulders with Antonin Scalia, and we all agree that Scalia is probably one of the most brilliant justices to ever serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. He is the person who put in her ear that, this is a monument. Be careful about doing something like that because you're opening up a Pandora's box. And so that's what Eagle Forum uses as their point for opposing it, and that's where it rests. They don't consider all of the other things because it's not just John White and Bob Steinhagen who have looked at the facts and said, "Hey, what he's arguing is practically not true." There are other people that also support it that are smarter than you and me, probably.
That's right. Well, here's the thing that happens here is what's the beauty of the committee. Now, I jokingly say, from an engineering standpoint, what's the definition of a camel? It's a horse designed by a committee. That's a humorous way of looking. And so sometimes you get some rather tortuous results from committees.
Yes.
But what we have here is the committee was mostly was put together with thoughtful people that were highly recommended by older leaders in the party that knew each of us and recommended us for this purpose. So it's really healthy. It's really healthy to have people opposing what you're supporting.
I agree.
Because now what it does, it allows you to challenge yourself. How firm am I here?
Yes.
Because sometimes that opponent will bring a point of view contrary or very different from what yours is.
Yep.
And you think, well, gee, I never looked at it that way. And
that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get into it, but the Texas proponents right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really good. And I thought, I could just see Texas standing alone, we could have all the refineries we want,
Yes.
and we could sell high-priced gasoline to California,
There
for
you
heaven's
go.
sakes. You know, we could even blend it to their crazy formulas. So that would be a benefit, but then I'm thinking, why did Texas become a state? Well, it's because our government got carried away borrowing money, building roads. One of those roads, Texas Public Pipeline, goes right by my house. It's called Ridge Road today.
Okay.
It was called the Republic of Texas Highway.
Huh.
And it went all the way from downtown Dallas up to Kiyomadia on the Red River, still an unincorporated town. And along the way, it crossed Barnes Bridge Toll Road, came up through Heath and Rockwall, went on up, basically Highway 24, all the way into Kiyomadia.
Okay.
And so the Republic of Texas got carried away.
Yeah.
They got real ambitious, and they got in deep debt, couldn't pay the debts. And the reason they were willing to come into the Union was through that treaty, the U.S. government took a whole bunch of that northern land that went almost to Idaho, or maybe up to Idaho, Colorado, Oklahoma, and so forth, all those lands. They took that land. That's why you have that sharp angle in the upper left-hand corner of the Texas map.
Yeah.
That all became
Panhandle.
Yeah, the Panhandle.
Right.
What created the Panhandle?
Yeah.
100% of the Panhandle was created by that treaty. Well, what happened was the federal government took our dirt and gave us their money, and so we paid off our debts.
Yeah.
You see, and so there is a real risk that we, on the other side, I'm not arguing for it against it. I'm just saying these are things you want to think about. Be a little thoughtful about it.
I'm with you. This is something that, it sounds great. I love the spirit of it, really, and because we all have that point of view. But the other issue is school choice. Again, people are afraid what it's going to do. It's going to ruin our public schools. And I think the fundamental problem with that argument is, because we're taking money away, so then you would naturally assume then that the money is what makes education better. But as we know,
that's not true.
The more money we put in, the worse our schools get. So this is a false narrative. Boy, they're passionate, those who oppose it. But it is based. The arguments are just very hollow.
It's fear-based.
It is
because
another
of incomplete
fear-based
information. I think we had various debates on it there in the platform committee, and one of the amendments to it was a good amendment that the money would follow the child.
Yes.
The original text didn't have that.
Yes.
And so right away, blah blah blah, government controls and all that kind of stuff. And I waited until my turn to speak.
Okay.
And so when it became my turn to speak, and I said, it's a specious argument that there will be strings attached. I said, for instance, I am a veteran, and if I had chosen to go over to Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary when I got out of the service and get it paid for by the GI Bill, there would have been no strings attached, okay? So that's something you work on in the legislature when it happens, all right? The other part was, I said to them, if that became law, that the money could not follow the child, I said every independent school district would go out of business because they're all paid on average daily attendance.
Yes,
their money follows the child. Boy. So the kids that move to Rockwall from Dallas ISD, move to Rockwall ISD or Roy City ISD, the money follows the child through the average daily attendance.
Yes.
As attendance goes down there and comes up here, the money goes with them.
Yes.
And it's in kind. There's no difference in the ISD. Now, the charter schools get a much lower per capita ISD, which is a shame.
Yes, it is.
It's like $1,200 less. Now, $1,200 to $1,500, I
yes.
forget.
It's a shame, especially since they put out a better product.
They put out a better product, yes.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that charter schools have, the public schools don't have, so-called public schools don't have, is they have control of it. They have authority over their classrooms.
Oh, yes.
And the ISDs have become so politicized.
Boy, yeah, they have.
That teachers no longer have authority over their classrooms.
Yeah.
This is a fact. I discussed this with one of my Rockwall ISD trustees, one of the few that will talk with me. And she said, oh, we have that now. I said, you what? because I'm talking to teachers that tell me it's exactly the way I understand it.
Yeah.
She said, well, we have this committee. I thought, oh, no. So back to the camel.
Camel, I was about to say the camel. Yeah, here it comes
the horse
back
designed
again.
by committee.
But you said something, okay, you made an argument that I had not considered. I think is brilliant. The idea, the whole GI Bill thing. Boy, I had great perspective.
The Constitution guarantees a free public education to every child. And the years I was growing up, this was the years following the Bracero program that most people don't know about that was in World War II. During World War II, so many of our young men and even the girls went into the factories. My aunt was a welder, and we called them Rosie the Riveters. They were also welders and mechanics and everything else.
Yes,
so they were building armaments. The men were fighting the war, okay? And there was a dearth of agricultural workers.
Yeah.
And so the United States government made an agreement, a treaty, with the Mexican government for the Bracero program. Brazo is an arm. When in English we say we have hired hands.
Yes.
In Spanish it's hired arms.
I see.
That's why it's a Bracero program.
Okay.
And so what the Braceros would do, they would come over as families. And we welcomed them. And guess what? They got to go to our schools, and we embraced them. And we even had the first class they went to was to learn English, and they did it in 1 year. So the thought that you can't learn English in 1 year is not true.
So
they did it very well.
So we're talking about the school choice issue as though we believe that my audience understands the school choice issue, and I don't know that that's true. What does school choice mean?
School choice means we have school choice now from the standpoint that your child can go to private schools, church schools, home schools, whatever. They can do that now.
Yes.
What the school choice is that we have so many families, and especially now with inflation, and I agree with Biden. The inflation is transitory.
Yes,
because at the end of that transitory is economic collapse.
Boy, isn't that true?
You see him getting that.
Yes, I do.
So, yes, we have lots and lots of families that are heading into great financial difficulty, and they will be unable to pay a fee to a church or a private school or church school for their children to attend that school. And maybe mama's going to have to be scrapping like daddy to go find work somewhere, okay? So I'm expecting a lot of movement across the country. But what the school choice does is that money it's not depriving anything from the public schools, the ISDs, that is.
Right.
The money would be is there for the child.
Yes.
And I would also say that just as the state, and I'll have to say wisdom, they realize that the ISDs are grossly overfunded.
Oh boy.
They are not underfunding the charter schools.
Right.
They're sensibly funding the charter schools.
Yes.
Well, that same thinking applies to home schools, church schools, and private schools, and so forth. So that same thinking, the money should follow the child.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to have lots and lots of families that are going to need help. They don't want the public schools because the public schools have become indoctrination centers, very controversial. And
I don't use the word public school anymore. I use government school.
Government school.
That's how I describe it. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, let's use government school.
Yeah, it's a better term. It's more accurate. But and so voucher, is that how this our platform is written?
And I think so. Yes. The intent is that the money would go to the family.
Yeah.
Okay. And the family could pay.
Yes.
Now, by that way,
through a voucher. They're not getting cash.
That's right.
And if I'm a homeschool dad, I don't get paid as a teacher.
No. You take your voucher to
to get books.
That's right.
and that kind of
That's
thing.
Right.
Yes. So, yeah.
And we have many friends. Matter of fact, I was just discussing this with Tim Lambert, the head of the Texas
is he
Homeschool
here?
Coalition.
Our former national
my wife
committeean.
And I he knows us.
Former president of the Texas Homeschool Coalition. Yep.
My son-in-law and daughter, my daughter and son-in-law are very close friends of his, and they're full-time members. They're big members in that.
Oh yeah.
And he knows them, and he knows us.
Okay.
And we were discussing all the positive things about it. So the homeschool coalition, the homeschooling doesn't cost anywhere near what a private school does.
Right.
Because you're not hiring a teacher.
Right.
You're not renting a building, you see. So you're buying books and things like that.
Right.
Now, I've heard some parents say, well, I want to get paid too. I'm going, okay, then go to a private school or go to a government school.
Yes.
Your term. And I
Right.
like that. Let's call them government schools.
Exactly.
What they are.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
But the whole idea of school choice is that they do have a choice of exiting
Yes.
the government schools and going to alternative means. And I would say the homeschool particular is a far higher education than people who are unaware of it know. And I liken it like this. I've taught engineers and salespeople for a lot of years.
Sure.
I had to cover the whole Southern USA.
Sure.
And I would tell them, I say, I've thought to myself, before you can, it's not original to me, it's somebody else said it somewhere along the way, but before you can teach someone how to sell, you have to know more about selling than they do.
Yeah.
Before you can teach someone engineering principles, you have to know more engineering principles than they do.
Yeah.
And before you can teach a dog tricks, you have to know more than the dog.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. So what happens in homeschooling is the parents and the grandparents get a whole lot smarter, and you can actually sense the level of IQ.
Yeah.
It's palpable
throughout the high school, throughout the household.
Yes, it's palpable. I have an 8-year-old, my youngest homeschool child.
Yes.
At the age of 6, knew the names of every president in the order, and there's only one whose name she will not mention.
I love it. I
won't say that one.
She
knew how to
say it either.
calculate the area of a circle.
Starts with an O. Go ahead.
Those things. She knew all those things that I didn't learn till much later in school. But like these children coming from Mexico, they weren't hurting us. They were a part of us.
Yes.
And their mothers kept transcripts, and about every few weeks they would move from farther north as they followed the harvest north.
Yes. Yes.
And then they would return to Mexico.
Yes.
And then they came back. And the reason they could come back so easy, it was very inexpensive, and it was very easy to do.
Yeah.
What's happened is, through all government regulations,
Yep.
To come over here, you have to have, to get past the immigration border, you have to have a very costly ID card, just like a credit card, with all kinds of things on it. And it costs a lot of money, almost as much as a year's wages for some people. And so when you get into that situation, you tend
Talking
to
about the green card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a card that's specific to Mexicans like that.
Okay.
Okay. And so to get that costly card where you can come and go freely, man, people are going to look for a shortcut.
Sure.
And so they're going to find some other way to get it done. For years, like down in Laredo and Nuevo Laredo, it was very commonly moms would drive their kids over to Texas schools, and they'd carpool, and then drive them home in the evening.
I'll be.
But they were rushing, and we welcome them.
Yeah.
We welcome them. They're not unwelcome.
Yeah.
Because if they're here, we darn sure want them educated.
Sure. And learning English and
learning English and all that.
Absolutely, and becoming American. That's so these two issues: the school choice, convention of the states, obviously. So convention is in here.
Yes, sir.
Convention of the states. Oh, great. Well,
I couldn't tell you what page it's on, but it's in there.
So okay, because I was expecting a floor fight on that. I suspect we won't. We will avoid that. They are still working on legislative priorities, by the way. So
it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I mean well, actually, I mean it worked well for this last legislative
the process
session.
worked well.
The problem is if we don't get number 2, then it's all for naught, which is the Democrat chair. So go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you, John.
The problem is the body here is not educated in the process that they're in right here.
Right.
And we have a lot of new people in the convention. I know in our Senate caucus, almost half the people in our Senate SD2 caucus, this is their first time ever to a state convention.
I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
wow.
We have a lot of newbies.
Yeah.
A lot of good, smart people, healthy people, good thinkers and all that.
Yes.
But they're new to it.
Yes.
Okay. And so what the purpose of the platform committee and the rules committee and all these things of the committees is to analyze, to vote on planks to go in the platform, in the case of the platform committee, and to hear testimony.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so
you heard a lot.
Oh, hours and hours and
yes.
hours and hours. I'm
As
not
did the
complaining about
yes.
it. Okay.
And now you're broken up into 10 different committees, subcommittees.
Yeah.
That are focused on different things.
Each member was a member of 2 subcommittees.
And those subcommittees include state sovereignty, constitutional issues, citizen rights, things like that. Go ahead.
I was on the state affairs.
Okay.
Robin Armstrong was on that one.
Nice.
And on the HHS.
Yes.
Where I did not.
We both laughed at that one, but that wouldn't be one I would want to be on either.
That's not one I picked.
But you were appointed.
Yeah,
to the,
I suppose I was useful there. I don't know, but that's.
But you were reflecting what your Senate district was presenting anyway, so it's not that hard of a task.
Yes.
But it wasn't something you're passionate about, as neither am I. So go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was a good process.
Yes, it's a very good process.
Now, you heard a lot of testimony. The problem with it is, and this is, I think, a fair argument, yes, there's a lot of testimony, but by those who are able to, who can afford to drive here and have a hotel all week. I mean, it's an expensive proposition the further away from Houston that you are, and Houston's kind of toward the bottom, and so with gas the way it is, had a lot of people who didn't feel like they got a chance to testify. So that's a fair argument. The good thing is next year 2 years from now, we'll be in Dallas, which is right in the center, and everybody loves coming to Dallas. We shouldn't have any problem.
But here the process allows for that.
Yeah.
You see,
well, but
they have
no
our
Zoom
email addresses. They have our email addresses.
Yeah,
okay?
but there's no Zoom opportunities. I mean, hearing
what
the
I'm saying
testimony
is
important.
If you can't attend,
way
before the platform committee meets, is the time for you to email to us your commentary or your proposed platform planks. But what's happened is, I've got if I were to print a single page out of that one file in my email, it would probably make a stack about 2 feet high or
print them all out.
Oh, you print them all out. That I've received after the platform committee concluded its work.
Wow.
Worthless.
Yeah,
worthless.
It is.
That doesn't mean that there's not some good stuff in there.
Absolutely.
I appreciate all of them. I read them all.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I read them all, even though I can't do anything with them.
Right.
You see?
Right. Well, because we may want to present it 2 years from now.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm hoping to do.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get some videos made, instructional videos. This is what you do in the precinct convention. Here's the overall process, and then there's one for precinct convention. Get the things in there. Here's the format to use. Little things like that. Standard format makes it a whole lot easier.
Yep.
And I'm looking at suggesting to the RPT that we put it online. Okay, so when you're doing your propositions, rather than clumsily printing out one copy, when you're supposed to do three, right?
Right. Yeah.
According to rules, you wouldn't need but to go to a website, a secure website, where your own personal identification is all that's involved.
Yep.
No one else can get it.
You're verified.
And you can put your propositions in there.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
And then what they can do at the county convention is take those. They can still receive paper.
Yep.
At the county convention.
Yes.
And so forth. But all the way up to the state. If this was done in electronic format, this wouldn't even be going. We could have shut down yesterday.
Maybe so. Well, John, it sounds as though the platform is now on the table. So, John, thank you. And by the way, on those videos, sounds like something you and I can collaborate on.
Yes, that's why I've said that to you.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. So, John White, thank you so much
for
serving on the committee, for doing God's work. You did a great job. I was here all week, and I got a chance to sit in on some of those, and you did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much,
you.
John. So that's John White, and so grateful that he took a little bit of time to spend with me and inform you what's happening. But this is the process. This is the platform committee, the debate on the platform. So I want to get to that, and so we'll move over to that point.
Suspend the rules. This is not a debatable motion. All in favor of suspending the rules and going directly to the, what is the name of it? Election integrity one? Government and Election Integrity section of the platform. Please if you are in favor of going directly to that section, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? Yay! It is a 2/3 vote. The noes have it. The motion fails. We got a white light on 1.
Mr. Chairman, may I rise to a point of personal privilege?
No, you may not.
Personal
That's
privilege is not in order.
not a proper motion. Number 2.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of my precinct and precinct 88 of Montgomery County, I would like to request that all platform votes be by power and not by ballot. In other words, the SDs would count the power based on the ballots they turn in versus by individual. I think, and then that's my motion.
Please restate it.
I motion that all platform planks be weighted votes according to the ballots that are turned in per SD.
Yes, they already are.
Thank you.
Motion in Mike 4.
Hi, my name is John Nix, delegate from Montgomery County. I'd like to make a motion that we change from 15 minutes per section to 25 minutes per section with the end date of 8:30.
That's going to be out of order because it's a rule.
I'll remind everybody we have a contractual obligation to be out of here by 5. Is there a second? Give me a name and SD. I need a second at the microphone if there is one. Going.
Of it. Turn it up.
Yeah, number 3.
Ruben Dunn, SD 11. I second the motion.
Okay. So the motion is to increase the amount of time for each section from 15 to 25 minutes, which would have the effect of cutting off some sections. I see a white light over there on 1.
Luke Macias, SD 26. Point of information.
Yes.
If we extend the time to 25 minutes, are we not effectively killing our entire platform since we're supposed to be out of here within the next 2 hours?
Yes. We don't pass it. Well, yeah. If we don't get through this and adopt wording to give the delegates in order to vote, yes, that would be
Point of information.
State your point of information.
We have to vote on the platform, and then all the delegates will also get to vote themselves on each plank before 5 p.m. That is the business before the convention. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have to be out.
So we have to move very, very, very quickly. Is that correct?
Yes. That means each thing, we haven't even started laying out the platform yet, and that hasn't started. The time hasn't started because of the white lights.
Would amending this motion to actually move it to 2 minutes maybe give us a chance to actually have a platform?
So the rule is that we spend 3 hours.
That seems to be very popular.
15 minutes per issue, or per issue. There are 10 issues.
Yes, you can make that amendment to the amendment. There's been a motion to amend the amendment from 25 minutes to 2 minutes.
25 minutes to 2 minutes is the
Rule 15 sets that out as a majority vote. Is there a second?
Second. Can somebody second?
Number 2. What do you got? No, state name.
Second.
Name.
Gonzalez, SC 30.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've been told we need to make sure we get that on record. Is there any discussion of the motion on number 1? 15.
Mr. Chairman, there's a lot of people that have worked hard for a platform that's the gold standard of the entire nation. And it would be respectful to everyone here to give them a chance to vote on that platform, plank by plank, by moving this discussion along and allowing the ballots to be distributed. And moving this down to 2 minutes is the only way we do that.
Mike 2.
Brad Howe, Senate District 4, call for a question.
All right. Question's been called. All in favor of calling the question and voting on the amendment to the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
That is overwhelming.
The motion passes. Now we got to vote on the amendment. Now, the amendment that we are voting on is to amend the 15 minutes that we would be doing per section to 2 minutes. And the original motion said 25. So if you are in favor of amending the motion to 2 minutes, you would vote aye. 25 would be nay. All in favor of the amendment to the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes
Wow,
have it.
the ayes have it.
The motion
Man, we have limited
Now,
debate.
That was the amendment to the amendment. What? No, it's not.
See, I don't really understand how they're going
Now
to.
we are doing a vote on the amendment itself, which as currently amended is to amend the 15 minutes per section to 2 minutes per session, all in favor. Are we doing? They only call the question. Okay. Now the question's been called. All in favor of amending the rules to permit 2 minutes of debate on each section, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes.
The ayes clearly have that one.
Yes. Mike 1.
Point of information, Chairman.
Yes.
Would it be proper to ask the chairman to maintain a level of decorum so that people could hear?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, please, we got a pretty packed room right now, so please try to keep it down when there are people speaking at the microphone so everybody can hear. Thank you. We still have a white light on there? Jim?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Jim Pickle, SD8. We're passing out the ballots in our district. My question is on these Scantrons, are we going to pass these out when we start going through the platform planks, or are we going to pass them out for voting after all of them are done? I can see
Well, it's going to go a lot quicker now, but we're going to pass them out as soon as the voting's done. It's actually good we have more people here. If we had stretched it out until 4 or 5 o'clock, I think probably half the room would be gone, so more people are going to get to vote on our priorities now. But we're going to pass it out after.
Thank you.
And then we got Mike 3.
Clint Stutz, SD3, point of order. What we just passed puts us in conflict with our rules on debate. If you limit debate to 2 minutes per section, you can't possibly have a for and against in that amount of time.
That is correct.
He'll shoot me down, but
So it was a motion to suspend the rules, which means you suspend all rules that interfere with it. And by the way, keep in mind, what we're talking about right now with the platform is just the wording of the platform. The vote on each of the individual planks will take place with the Scantron sheet and everybody here. Matt, please proceed.
Mr.
Let
Chairman.
him lay out the section, then I got you guys, okay?
I submit for discussion the next section of the platform entitled Constitutional Issues. Under this section are planks on preservation of the Constitution, citizens' rights, and state sovereignty.
Okay. We'll now move on to discussion. We have a motion on 2.
Actually, it's a point of order now. Joel Starnes, SD9. Did we just skip over the principles and preamble? We didn't discuss that one.
We introduced it.
You're right. And then we went into the rest of the discussion.
Did you have a motion on the principle?
I'd like to move. Yes, sir.
What are you on now?
I agree with the gentleman. We didn't really take up. I agree with the gentleman. We didn't really take up that section, so it's probably appropriate that we do.
We can take up the principles if you want to make a motion.
Yes, I'd like to move to amend number 8, where it says self-sufficient families founded on the traditional. I would like to add and faithful after that, marriage of a natural man and a natural woman. So adding the words and faithful after traditional.
Somebody keep it time. Somebody keep time from the beginning when he stops. Okay, the amendment is to, and I'll try to. Can we scroll up a little bit? Yeah. We'll pause the time while we're getting it up because this is our fault.
So we'll.
Thank you, Ben.
The amendment will be up on screen so you can see it as it.
Chairman, would it also be in order
shows.
to go ahead and call the question?
It's going to last 2 minutes anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is that correct? Is that correct as it's put up there, Joel? You can't
Yes,
say it?
that is correct.
Traditional and faithful marriage of a natural man, natural woman. Okay. Do you want to?
I second, please.
Thank you.
Karen Starnes, SD9.
Karen Starnes, SD9, has seconded the amendment. Now we're speaking for or against. Anybody want to speak for or against? For. Go ahead.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I think it's very important that we aim for a faithful marriage as well as traditional. We're founded upon Christian values in this country. There are a lot of broken families, and I understand that, but actually our goal is to provide a mother and father to every child in America and in Texas. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else want to speak for or against?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Matt Patrick, I believe our 2 minutes is expired.
I wasn't counting the time. I want to make sure I'm not taking the time that they have.
You were slow.
Anyone want to speak for or against?
My clock says.
I'm not seeing any yellow or red lights, so we'll move to the question. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The noes have it. The motion fails. Let's go to the back on 4.
Lauren Landivar, SD9. I would like to make a motion that we have 1 minute for and 1 speaker for, and 1 minute against and 1 speaker against.
Let me clarify. Is your motion to suspend the rules to ensure that in any debate under that 2-minute limit, we get at least 1 minute for and 1 minute against? Oh.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Thank you. Do we have a second? All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Thank you. Do we have anybody who wants to? Okay. Mr. Novus on 1.
My raise to strike 34, State Electoral College.
We're not in that section.
This is
not in order.
This is constitutional.
Yeah, this is not in order. We're doing the preamble.
Oh.
Let's do Mike 2. Mike 2.
Are we on constitutional issues?
Do it
Yes.
quick. Yeah. No, we're not.
Okay, then I'll wait for then.
Okay, the time is up on the preamble. Make sure you got the issues. Matt, go ahead. Go ahead, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I again submit the discussion for the next section of the platform entitled Constitutional Issues.
Okay, now is the platform on constitutional issues. Let's go to number 2.
Hi, Christine Whitmore, Senate District 30. I would like to make a motion to amend Platform Plank 34 regarding the State Electoral College.
Please, have you submitted your amendment up front?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. Hold on, we'll pause while we get it up, okay? I'll pause your time while we get it up.
Thank you.
Are we done?
So this is a process, obviously, that we see a lot, and so these we're going. What's happened is a little bit unusual because typically we do spend more time in debate and from the floor. This is not going to be the case in this convention. So they've limited debate to basically 2 minutes per issue, and so debate. Each issue gets 1 minute of for and against, and it really isn't much of a debate. So we're really not seeing much of.
Okay.
Of
we have it
of
up
debate.
there on the screen.
Here it is.
Would you like to speak in favor of your proposed amendment?
Yes, I would.
Hold on one second. Let me go to Mr. McKeag. Do you have a intervening? I apologize. Number 1.
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
Yes.
Mark McKeag, SD7. On plank 33, am I reading this correctly that our state convention is calling on the Texas legislature to hold a referendum for the state of Texas to secede from the United States of America?
Federally mandated.
Is that what's in plank 33?
No, that is not what is being presented. It's basically saying that we have the right to
well, it's not
succeed.
germane to what we're dealing with, but I don't read that the same way.
Yeah.
And
to me, it looks like
should be called upon to pass a referendum consistently.
We are going to. First thing I would point out, that's not necessarily germane.
Yeah,
to what we're dealing with right now. Secondly.
He's on 33,
we will get a
and the
vote
motion
for
is
or
on
against
34.
that plank. Please, you may proceed and speak in favor.
Mic on? Oh, it's on.
Yes.
Okay. It is becoming clear in the election data that a vote by the popular majority, increasingly dominated by urban centers, is not representative of the interests of all Texans. Are all Texans to be governed by a handful of cities? Is the geographic and economic diversity of this state to be subjugated to the interests of a minority of urban centers? The answer to these questions should be a resounding no. If the interests of all Texans are to be advocated for, we need statewide office holders to be truly elected by all Texans from every corner of this great state. We need to amend our election process for statewide office holders from a popular majority to a concurrent majority. A concurrent majority is very similar to an electoral college. The key difference is that it will leverage our 254 counties. Each county would be allocated 1 vote that would be awarded to the candidate with the majority of votes in that county. To be elected to a statewide office, a candidate must win.
Thank you. Time's up.
Thank you.
Sorry. Anybody want to speak against? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The noes have it. The motion fails.
Yeah, the motion fails.
We have a motion in the back, number 3.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I am Gail Bain, Senate District 17. I'm speaking in regards to parental rights, Section 30. I would like to make a motion to amend that section following the word law. The first sentence ends in the word law, and at that point, I would like to add an amendment stating, it is imperative that a parental rights amendment be added to the Texas Constitution in order to secure these rights for future generations, period.
Thank you. We're going to get that on the screen. Our time is up. We suspended the rules in order to allow 1 minute for, 1 minute against on debate, so we will do that as soon as we get it up before we move on from this section. However, I want to be clear about something while we have everybody in the room listening. The numbers on your Scantron sheet when we do vote, I know some people were confused, start with number 1 at the preamble. They're the bold-faced numbers in your packet. Then we see on the principles, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the numbers that correspond. You will be doing an up or down vote on your Scantron on each of these items that correspond with the number on your Scantron. Just wanted to be clear. Thank you. Would you like to, is there a second, first of all? From the mic?
SD13, Ruben Dante.
Okay. It helps if you bring the second up to the same mic as you and then say your name and SD, because the mic we know will be on.
SD13, Ruben Dante, I second.
Thank you. Yeah, we got it. Thank you. Would you like to speak in favor of your motion?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Parental rights are implied rights at the present time in most constitutions, including the U.S. Constitution. We need to guarantee parental rights in the state of Texas that would ensure that parents actually can have the jurisdiction when things are fought in legal courts regarding education, medical, or other court cases. Parents would have the authority to make the ultimate decisions for their children. We need to put it in black and white as an amendment because at the present time it is an implied right. We are in a place on this time on the earth where we have to spell it out and codify it. So this is the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any against? Do you have a intervening motion or point of information before we move on to the vote? Number 1, sorry.
Point of information?
Yes.
On the Scantron, do we need pencils or pens?
Pens will be fine.
Okay.
Pencils or pens.
Thank you.
Seeing that there's no more debate on the amendment, all in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? Can we do a division? All in favor, please stand up. All in favor of the amendment? The red, that is to add the language in red. Okay, please sit down. All opposed? Please stand.
It looks like the opposed may have.
Yeah. The ayes have it.
Oh, the ayes have it, okay.
The motion passes. The amendment is adopted. We are in the, Matt, will you please proceed to the next section?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm going to have it lay it out, then I'll go to the back. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I submit for discussion the third section of the platform entitled Business, Commerce, and Transportation. Under this section are planks on energy and the environment, markets and regulations, retirement, savings and unions, transportation, COVID policy, and privacy and internet privacy.
On the Business, Commerce, and Transportation section, Mike 4.
Point of information, Shauna O'Dare, SD 18, Montgomery County.
Please stay.
It seems like some people are already voting. Are we supposed to be waiting until told on our Scantron or vote now?
Well, a lot of people are trying to get a leg up on filling it out. We're not going to collect them officially until it's done. And, you know, we're amending right now, so you don't really know what you're voting on all of them as you're coming, but there's nothing prohibiting it.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a red light, but there's no motion. Blue light, Business, Commerce, and Transportation section. On 2, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to propose an amendment to the Clause 38 for utilities, which states, we encourage free market solutions for providing utilities whenever possible. I would like this to read, we support free market solutions for providing resilient and reliable power.
I'm stopping the time while we put that in there. Is there a second? Can someone at that mic who? Name and SD.
Terry Hall, SD 24. I second the motion.
You probably need my name, too. Catherine Meek, SD 9.
Thank you. Okay. The amendment is to add the words resilient and reliable power utilities. Do you cross out the word utilities? Or do you want?
No, utilities is there. I'm amending encourage to be support and adding resilient and reliable before utilities and striking whenever possible.
So no power, it's just utilities. And then, so encourage is what?
Resilient, we support free market solutions for providing resilient and reliable utilities.
We support free market solutions, so encourage should be support.
Yes.
Okay. So you see the amendments on the screen. The amendment as amended would be we support free market solutions for providing resilient and reliable utilities. Crossing out the words encourage, replacing with support, adding resilient and reliable, and scratching wherever possible. Does anybody, would you like to speak in favor of your amendment?
Yes, I believe that adding the words resilient and reliable accomplishes the intent of the plank, and that without specifying that we want resiliency within our utilities and reliability, we don't emphasize that free market solutions are what's going to make it possible to achieve that.
Thank you. Is there anyone against over here on 1?
It's a good amendment.
Yes.
Yes.
This is Mark Allegheny, SD 16, and I would like to propose striking.
That's not we're in argument.
Okay.
He's making a motion as opposed to
anyone want to
debating.
speak against? Yes. Number 2.
Mr. Chairman, I'm requesting a point of information. It's very dark over on the fringes and in the back. Can we get the lights turned on?
In the fringes of the back. I'll relay the comment. All in favor of accepting the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment passes.
Good change.
Any other discussion on the Business, Commerce, and Transportation section? I see you waving. Okay, go ahead. Number 1. Number 1?
Yes. Mark Allegheny, SD 16. I would like to propose striking under platform number 51, state laws, the plank that says allow auto manufacturers to sell directly to consumers. This is a huge job costing. Okay, I'm making a motion that we strike number C, allow auto manufacturers to sell directly to consumers.
Okay, do I hear a second? Can somebody go to the, wave your hand if you're at the mic. It's easier if you go to his mic because it's still on. If you're at the mic of the person who made the motion, the mic's still on and I don't have to look for your hand. Somebody want to second it?
Jackie Halliburton.
Okay.
SD 7, I second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. It would be to strike, allow auto manufacturers to sell directly to consumers. We can have 1 minute for, 1 minute against. Please proceed if you want to speak in favor of your motion.
Thank you. I want this section stricken because Texas auto dealers are friends of the Republican Party. They are huge employers in the state of Texas. They are huge taxpayers. Conversely, the auto manufacturers are not our friends. They're sending jobs to Mexico. This provision would kill a lot of jobs in the state of Texas if we did away with the auto dealer network. The auto manufacturers have been trying for decades to get this kind of provision through our legislation. This is bad. We are on the wrong side of history if we allow this to happen. So please, I think this wasn't thought out well, but this is a bad provision for our friends, the Texas auto dealers.
I see you back there. I'm gonna allow him to, on mic 2, to speak first. Against. You have 1 minute.
Thank you, Joe. Joe Palmer, SD9. The auto manufacturers are no more the enemy of this party or this country than the auto dealers. They made tanks in World War I and World War II. They made planes. Have you tried to go to a dealer and buy a car lately? Are they your buddy? Other states allow you to buy a vehicle directly from the manufacturer. We're asking Texas to boldly go where 6 or 10 other states have already gone before. I don't have to go to a computer dealer to buy a laptop. I don't have to go to a shoe dealer to buy some tennis shoes. This is America. This is free market.
We still have about 15 seconds to speak against, gentlemen, if you, on
back.
one.
Tom Bazan, I wanted to say that it opens up a market for other services to take up the slack. Right now, the dealers have a locked-in market, and you don't have a choice.
Thank you, sir. Time's up. Let's go to, before we vote on this, mic 4.
Sandra Kent, SD 18. In the first column, it has a T. The second column is an F. Would that correspond to a vote for and a vote against in column A and B?
Where are you looking? On the Scantron?
The Scantron.
The answer is yes. Number 3.
Charles Ivy, SD 8. Point of information, it's been a long time since I've seen this. It's bringing up a lot of old nightmares from school, but we haven't gotten any explanation on how to fill this out. Do we need to put our name on this, fill out the identification number, grade, special codes, what's yes or no, et cetera, before we
Matt's going to give you a detailed explanation once we get through this section.
But people are filling it out now.
Yeah.
So we need to clarify that.
Go ahead, Virgil. Yeah, I mean, don't do that if you have a question. Do you want to cover, Matt, can you explain just quick the Scantron? Let me get through this vote first, then I'm going to have Matt go over it, okay? Is this about what's particularly on the table now? Okay, number 1.
Jim Baxa, SD 28. Point of order. The time for this section has expired.
Thank you. I was just trying to resolve any intervening motions. We will vote on the amendment as proposed to strike allow auto manufacturers to sell directly to consumers. All in favor of striking that language, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The noes have it. The motion fails. Matt, would you like to go?
Actually,
I would go into the next section and explain briefly the Scantron for people who are...
Actually, Virgil's going to explain the Scantron. So, Virgil, you want to...
So Scantron is basically the ballot where the delegates will be able to vote plank by plank.
So for those of you who are already filling out the Scantron, you should know that if there's an amendment to insert something, you may be filling out the wrong line. So I would caution you against getting too far ahead. Nevertheless, on the Scantron, at the top there is something that says identification. That identification number is very important because that is where you will put your county. Your county corresponds to a 3-digit number from a list that your caucus chair should have. If you fail to put your county in the identifier, your ballot may be spoiled. In the part that says grade, there is a place for a 2-digit number. In those bubbles, you will need to put the 2-digit number corresponding to your Senate district. If you have a single-digit Senate district number, you need to put, for example, 04 or 07. The platform resolutions will be the 2 numbers at the very bottom of the Scantron immediately following the last plank. We will probably clarify those numbers when we get to it, but again, if there are amendments that change the sequencing of the numbers in the book may not correspond to the final numbers that you will be voting on, and so we caution you very strongly not to get too far ahead. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I submit for discussion the 4th section of the platform entitled Finance. Under this section are planks on spending restraint, some school finance, property taxation, transparency, and oversight.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this section of the platform? I see on mic 4 you guys had it on first.
I rise to make a motion.
I'm sorry. Hold on one second. We have on number 1 just before we start the clock, and you'll go next. Go ahead. Number 1.
Hi, I'm Mary Kay Maxwell, SD7. I'm a little confused. I submitted 3 copies of 2 amendments under the COVID response in accordance with what the chair requested. And I'm not sure that the people that were heard ahead of me had submitted their proper motions. And so I'm being told that the 2 minutes for the whole section has expired. And in my opinion, each of these sections under the business and commerce and transportation should get 2 minutes, or the people that have done what you asked should be called on first.
Excuse me. Every single amendment that we've gotten so far has submitted the requisite copies. Number 4.
Hello? Okay.
Number 4, please.
Yeah, I rise to make a motion. My name is Marcia Bowen. I'm in Senate District 13. I'd like to amend Plank 99 to add the following language. We support the creation of a national bank of the United States to promote the industrial, agricultural, and manufacturing growth of our nation. Okay.
I'm pausing the time so you have.
Right now?
You will have as soon as he tells you.
She submitted this in advance, so they have
By the way, we've
of
asked
it.
to get the lights turned up in response to the. I can't see very good either. we have requested that the lights be turned up. Would you like to, well, sorry, we have it up there now. Would you like to speak in favor of your motion?
Yes, please.
Is there a second? Do we get a second on the record? Sorry, it's getting late. Yes, second on number 2.
Belinda Holtzclaw, Senate District 13.
Thank you. Were you looking at your tag for your name or your Senate district? I'm just joking. Thank you. We have a second. Would you please, do you wish to speak in favor of your motion on mic 4?
Yes, thank you. I think everybody in this room knows we are in a war to save our republic. The enemy we have been fighting is the historic enemy of our nation, as President Trump calls the globalists. And I would remind you that it is the victors of war that rewrite history. And they've tried to write out the National Bank, which was totally successful during the Washington administration, during the Lincoln administration, and if we'd had John F. Kennedy longer, probably then. And I would argue that President Trump, if given the opportunity, could make America great again if we go back to a sovereign banking system that gives gold reserve currency so that farmers, industrialists, manufacturers get the credit they deserve.
Thank you. We have a red light on 1.
Is that
Speaking
me?
Against. Yes, speaking against.
This is Tom Glass, SD 18. I was on the platform committee, on the finance subcommittee that heard these arguments, and the subcommittee soundly rejected it, and then the full platform committee once again soundly rejected this. This is an attempt to replace the Fed with a national bank. Note that this platform plank already calls for ending the Fed, as these people do. But what we do not favor is replacing an unconstitutional agency with another that does essentially the same thing. The whiff of what's going on here with the LaRouche people have introduced this is a strong national planning through this bank. But I would urge them to understand that the deep state that has captured the Fed for their own purposes will put their hooks into a national bank just the way
Time
they
is
did
up.
with the Fed. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move. Is there number 1?
On the Scantron for the
Okay, wait,
county-
hold on. Let me take the vote on this, then we'll go to that, and then he'll lay out the other section, okay?
Scantrons are
All right,
killing
all
me.
in favor of the amendment, which is to add the underlying language, we support the creation of a National Bank of the United States, etc. Please, all in favor of adding that language, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The
Well,
motion fails.
that definitely
Mic
failed.
number one, Mr. Novus. And by the way, this the time has expired on this section. Mr. Novus.
Okay, on the Scantron, in the identification code, does the county number, is it left justified or right?
If you'll please put the county identification code in the 3 columns to the left of the identification section. Does everybody understand? So you three-digit code goes in the top left.
Perfect. So we're going to 5, right?
It'll be the only time you go left as a Republican. Any other questions about the Scantron before we move on? Okay. Mr. Chairman, are you ready for the next section? Mr. Chairman, are you ready for the next section?
We're moving on to the next section. Do you have a white light on 3?
Yeah. John Fields, SD 11. My question is, should we not delay all these questions on the Scantron? They're filling it out early. Later we are going to go through it, and it's taking up our time now, and people who are having to go earlier are not going to get a chance to vote on the platform. Can we stop questions on the Scantron? Thank you.
Yes. The chair thinks that is very advisable, and at the end of this, once we wrap it up, we will take all the questions on the Scantron. It would make things move more efficiently. I'm trying to stop time so you guys still have the ability to make all the motions you want to. Please proceed, Matt.
Mr. Chairman, I submit for discussion the 5th section of the platform entitled Education. Under this section are planks covering parental rights, curriculum, governance, and higher education.
So we are on education under parents' rights, curriculum, governance, and higher education. Look at Mike 2.
Yes. Deborah Simmons, SD 24.
Yes, please proceed.
I have an amendment to the education section, an addition of a plank, education transparency. I have submitted the language.
I'll pause the time while we put it up.
Would you like me to read it?
As what plank number?
Between 108 and 109.
Okay, between 108 and 109. So when we add planks like this, we are going to put it at the end, so it will get a new number. So if you were...
It could be added to instructional excellence.
No, this is fine. It's just when we insert, so we don't bump it all, we'll give it a new number so everybody isn't messed up.
At the end, okay.
Yes. We're going to keep it there in the platform, but for purposes of voting, we will assign it a new number.
Got it.
And then the corrections committee will fix it.
May I read the language?
Yes.
We support requiring Texas public schools to be fully transparent with parents regarding everything to which their children is or will be exposed without exception. We require that copyright and/or competitive advantage are not acceptable reasons to withhold information from a parent or taxpayer.
Thank you. Would you like to speak in favor of your motion?
I would.
Please proceed.
10 conventions submitted the 2020 plank to be reaffirmed with slightly different language, but 20 new planks were submitted similar to this. One new plank was submitted by 9 conventions, and yet it is absent from this copy that you're looking at. It appears that the committee may have run out of time, but it is incredibly important that parents have access to all materials, all information throughout their schools. Without parents' access, we do not know what is going on in our schools, and I'm asking the platform committee, the delegation here, to please put this back into the platform.
For those who have kids in public school, it's a
have
good
other
thing
discussion?
to know
Anybody
exactly
opposed?
what is being presented.
Okay, we'll vote. All in favor of adopting the amendment, which is the red language on the screen, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Mike 3.
Wow, that was easy.
Elizabeth Menace, SD 10. On line 544 of item 101, after the text "and the funding should follow the student," please add "without strings attached."
Thank you. Would you like to speak in favor of your amendment?
I would, thank you.
It's a good amendment.
This is the same text that was used by the Legislative Priority Committee. It's included on the Legislative Priority item. It's just a safeguard. It's essential to make sure that when you say the money follows the child, you're not opening the door to government control of private education and homeschooling.
It's a good addition.
It's the
that's for
same
sure.
language that they do include in the legislative priorities. So it's already been hammered out and discussed, and they knew why it was essential. It just should be repeated here. Thank you.
I would agree with
Can
that.
I get name and SD from you and your second?
Somebody here want to second me?
Ruben Dante as the 11.
And your name, miss?
Second.
Elizabeth Menace, SD 10.
I know you said it, we just didn't catch it.
That's cool.
Thank you.
That's a good amendment.
Anybody want to speak opposed?
I think it's going to be heavily supported, of course,
Okay,
except
we'll move
the
to
school
vote
choice folks
on the
will not
amendment
support
to
it.
add the words "without string attached" to the school choice platform as set forth on the screen. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Already?
All opposed?
I want you on.
It's like 2.
Okay.
The ayes have it. The motion is adopted.
And I've got to go get my ballot.
We are
So we're going to
completed
continue.
our time for that section. Matt, will you please move on to platform number 5?
Mr. Chairman, I submit for discussion the 6th section of the platform entitled Health and Human Services. Under this section are planks regarding mental health, homosexuality, gender issues, healthcare independence, environmental health, and parental rights.
Minority report has been submitted on the homosexuality plank of this section. The chair will now recognize the minority report.
And with me now
Number
is
2, and please identify yourself.
is our state state
This is Dave
Republican
Gifford,
Executive
SD9.
Committee member
I'm
Jerry
the submitter
Fisher.
of this
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Late in the
So
process,
I mean, good
amendment
additions,
was
good amendments and
added to
things,
the current homosexuality
the
plank
ones that
without
did
it
get
coming up
Yes.
from any
it's been a good
SDs
convention
or any
so far.
testimony.
Thank you. It has.
Yeah,
Inflammatory
you've been here
language
pretty
was
much
added.
All week.
Yeah, so congratulations being here at SRC. I want to tell you,
party
a lot of us in the party are just really proud of you because
thank
you are one of the few. Not the few. Let me restate it. You're one of those stalwarts who really fights for the platform and
Yes.
for our legislative
Thank you.
priorities.
Yeah.
So thank you for the work that you did on the SRAC because what you're doing is between conventions.
Right.
What have you learned anything? And what's been your experience on that?
On the SREC?
Yes.
My husband came with me this week. And this week we're surrounded by like-minded people.
Yes, we are.
We are. That is so encouraging. We don't all agree on everything,
Right.
but that's okay.
Right.
Okay, that's where the debate comes in.
Exactly.
But we still have to stand by our conservative values.
Yes.
And so, and for the majority, we're all standing by, by our conservative values.
One of my viewers, Mr. Trimley, out there is saying that this is total BS. 79% are rhinos. Time for a whole new category. It's called MAGA. And I think Mr. Trimley has a good point in that there's a lot of rhinos in the Republican Party.
Yes, there is.
What we have and what's before us, and we're surrounded by the grassroots, the people who really care about our platform, care about Donald Trump and making America great. And so while I agree that the arguments and the anger, frustration about Republicans is well-founded, this is the body that really works hard to strengthen our platform.
Yes.
How long have you been working behind the scenes? You've got a laundry list of experience doing, and so far you've never, everything you do, you don't get paid for. So
nothing.
All volunteer.
Yes.
You go to Austin every
4 months.
Every 4 months?
No, every 3 months.
Yeah, I thought it was quarterly.
Yeah, it's quarterly.
Yes.
Every 3.
And so you're doing all of this stuff. Any thoughts about your experiences so far up to this point?
My first 4 years, I had East Texas, Fannin, Delta, Hopkins, Hunt, and Rains, and that out there. I lost all of those,
with redistricting.
With redistricting,
Yes.
and so then I picked up Navarro County, East Ellis County, more of Dallas County, and then Collin County.
Yes.
So it's a whole new ballgame.
It really is, and I think what's concerning is Dallas is the overwhelming strength of our district now.
Yes.
It's overwhelming. However, at this convention, Rockwall, who has 53, and 53, that's our voting strength, and Dallas, which is 128?
124.
124. We had more delegates present than Dallas did. Says a lot. What can you do, or what are you and Bruce, because Bruce is a Dallas guy, what are you guys planning to do to try to build more engagement with the Dallas group?
Well, with Bruce being our committee man now, I think he was going to bring more of that Dallas, with us. Although I spent a lot of time in Dallas County because I got 4 or 5 different groups there, and so we just have to let them know that we're fighting for them too, that we're here for them. Because when I first got elected, they thought I was going to forget about them.
Yes.
And they did.
Yeah.
And so I had to just, I worked overtime to show them that, we're in this together. But like you said, the rhinos are everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Yes.
Everywhere.
Yes.
And so we need to vet our Republicans.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Do you mind hanging around while the debate goes on and we can...
Yeah. Can I come back?
Yeah, you bet.
You bet. Let me come.
Yeah,
let me get over here.
Do come back and we can talk through some of the things that we're seeing.
Yes.
So you can help me out there. That'd be great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Jerry Fisher, and we're very proud to have Jerry as our State Republican Executive Committee member. She works really hard. She spends a lot of time with the people of our district. And she really cares. She cares about the issues and is very committed to it.
Signed the minority report who are withdrawing their names. Would that make it still have enough in order to be under consideration?
All right. So they're looking at a minority report that they're now withdrawing the names, which there has to be, I believe, 3 votes on the minority report to be considered a minority report. And
yeah, if that's true in writing, then yes, that would be the case. You would have to bring it up. Speaking against on mic 3.
Mr. Chair, Nate Criswell, Senate District 22. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm speaking against this minority report because it has been written by the PC police. The Republican Party is not the party of political correctness. There's no reason for this weak language to be in our conservative platform. The people that wrote this are looking to pacify and make us less assertive. People appreciate calling a spade a spade. Thank you.
We're going to go to 4. We got about 15 seconds. Go.
I'm in favor of I'm against the amendment. I'm in favor of the original language that causes abnormal behavior, because it is fisting, strapping on a dildo, and pegging.
Time is up.
Is abnormal.
Time's up. Just in time. We're going to now vote on. We're going to vote on the minority report. So it would be for the what's a yes vote. Okay. A yes vote would vote to place the minority report language in. A no vote would vote to keep to go back to the original language. All in favor of replacing the plank with this amended language, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The nays have it.
Well, that
the
failed big
motion
time.
fails. The time for discussion's expired. We're now moving on. Do we still have time? Time for discussion's expired. We have to move on to the next section.
Mr. Chairman, I submit for discussion the 7th section of the platform entitled Criminal and Civil Justice. Under this section are planks regarding family law, law enforcement, courts, and the rights and protections for individuals.
Thank you. We have a white light on 4.
Mr. Chairman, it was the understanding, sorry, this is very hard with the echo. It was the understanding of the parliamentarian at this mic that we would not be counting the minority report against the 2 minutes. We have a very important fragile kids motion that we need to add.
Would you like just do a motion to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules so we can protect kids.
Take up the Protect Fragile Children Amendment.
Thank you.
Is there a second? Name and SD is Jason Vaughn, SD 13? Okay. Second by anybody?
Rebecca Parma, SD 14, I second.
Thank you. All in favor of suspending the rules on this plank to take up the Texas Fragile Kids Amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Two-thirds or majority? Majority. The ayes have it.
All right.
Okay, please go ahead. You have 1 minute. 1 minute for, 1 minute against.
Motion to amend, and the secretary should have this language already. This simply moves us back to the 2018-2020 plank on home and community-based service. Do you need me to read this, or the secretary should have it?
Make the motion, and then we'll do the argument.
I move to amend to the 2020 language.
Okay. You got to tell us what it is.
In order to avoid costly institutional care and preserve families, we call on the Texas legislature to invest in and fully fund home and community-based services as a pro-life policy and enact associated policy solutions to protect, preserve, and defend the sanctity and dignity of human life. addressing any loopholes that fail to protect or provide appropriate home and community-based supports and access to care for children and people with disabilities, in addition to providing families with information about life-affirming social and medical services available to them in Texas, in alternatives to abortion and costly institutional care.
Okay, would you like to speak in favor of your motion to amend, or would, I see Mr. Oliverson wants to speak also.
I will allow Dr. Oliverson.
Dr. Oliverson, on mic 1, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So friends, this is part of our pro-life platform. This is part of being pro-life. To say that we do not support abortion, we believe that is murder. There are those on the other side that say that children that are disabled, that disability is known before they are born. It would be better to kill them than bring them into a world where they basically don't have the support and the services they need to survive. We made a decision as a state a long time ago to come alongside those 11,000 families and make sure that those that chose life wouldn't be abandoned. And this plank is incredibly important to pro-life legislators like myself, who are constantly fighting that fight to end discriminatory abortions in Texas, because we believe that no one else should have the right to determine whether someone's life is worth living or not. And I urge you to support this.
Does anyone want to speak against? Okay. We are trying to get we don't have we need the old platform language up at the screen. It's not a minority report. It's a suspension of the rules. Hold on. I will, they're trying to get it up. Please bear with me for a second. I apologize.
What plank number are you amending?
142.
Thank you.
And I have it right here. It is, in order to avoid costly institutional care and preserve families, we call on the Texas legislature to invest in, fully fund home and community-based services as a pro-life alternative, and enact associated policy solutions to protect, preserve, and defend the sanctity and dignity of human life, addressing any loopholes that fail to protect or provide appropriate home and community-based supports and access to care for children and people with disabilities, in addition to providing families with information about life-affirming social and medical services available to them in Texas as alternatives to abortion and costly institutional care. All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The amendment passes. The language is adopted. We're moving along. Mr. Patrick. Matt, go.
Yep. So I'll reintroduce discussion for the 7th section of the platform entitled Criminal and Civil Justice. Under this section, as I mentioned, are planks on family law, law enforcement, courts, rights and protections for individuals.
A minority report has been submitted on the equal parenting plank 172 in this section. The chair will now recognize the minority report. Can you wave? Because I got 4 lights. That's we're at number 2.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, my name is Coleman Hemphill, SD 28.
Hey, Andy,
I would like to make a motion to amend by inserting a plank to be added at the end of rights and protections subsection of criminal and civil justice section of the permanent platform committee report.
Mr. Hemphill, that's not in order right now. We're taking up the minority report on parenting plank 172.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Please state your point of order.
Josh Jarrett, Senate District 4. The minority report has been rescinded. The signatures should have already been sent.
No, but specifically, sorry, SD3, it is not. It should be rescinded because 3 names on that minority report have rescinded their names in writing, which brings it lower than the threshold for a minority report. So we'd like to do a point of order that there is no more valid minority report for equal parenting.
We'll investigate the point of order and let get right back.
Point of order. Point of order.
Yet. Please hold on. Hold on 1 second. We're going to investigate that point of order, rule on it, then you can make yours. Okay?
So the minority report is essentially about equal parenting. Now there is a clause 172 that we're currently talking about.
The point of order is well taken and sustained.
So the minority report was basically
yes, ma'am.
Children
Mike 2.
Similar to it.
Yes, I would call for a division of the House on that.
There's no division. It's just there was a minority report that was by the rules rescinded because it has gone under the number of signatures allotted.
Well, point of information.
Yes.
How long do you have to remove your name? Because that is not fair to the delegates when we believe a minority report is there and is valid.
You can remove your names at any time, which gives you an incentive to get well over the amount that you need. Thank you. Number 4.
Beth Beasel, Senate District 12. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to add by inserting a blank to be added at the end of the rights and protection subsection of the criminal and civil justice section, stating, we call for the banning of gain-of-function research in Texas that makes a naturally occurring pathogen more deadly and more effective. We support investigations and indictments of those who participate in funding, developing, introducing, or releasing gain-of-function pathogens. Let's do this!
Second.
Please say your name and Senate District.
Elizabeth Barron, SD 14.
Thank you. The maker is Beth Beasel, SD 16, right?
12.
12, sorry. You moved with me.
Your district.
Well, I used to be 16 too, so.
Yeah. May I speak for it?
Yes, you may.
All right. Peer-reviewed evidence demonstrates that SARS-CoV-2 meets the definition of a gain-of-function bioweapon. Those responsible for the criminal alteration of naturally occurring viral pathogens to make a chimeric Frankenstein-like virus, SARS-CoV-2, through gain-of-function research, making it more effective and more deadly, are guilty of violating no less than 4 international and national laws. Funding and developing gain-of-function pathogens must be stopped. Introducing altered genetic material into the human nucleus of cells through gain-of-function must be stopped. Mandating the use of experimental drug vaccines related to gain-of-function chimeric pathogens must be stopped. Investigations and indictments must be pursued. Let's do this!
Time's up. Is there anyone wishing to speak against? Mike 2. No? Now we're 4. Okay. Seeing as there's no one, we'll call the question. All in favor of the added plank, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The motion passes. The language is adopted. We've got little time left, so on 1.
I want to modify plank 188, obscenity exemption.
Is this a motion?
This is a motion.
Okay.
to include the language as shown in the legislative priority.
188. And what is that language? Can you?
Language is and 43.25F 2-3, which allows sexual performance by a child.
What?
To be placed after under the guise of education materials.
Tom Novus, SD7, right?
Tom Novus, SD7.
My eyesight's good.
I second his motion. Mary Kay Maxwell, SD7.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Can we get the language up on the screen? Mr. Novus, while he's doing that, do you want to speak in favor of your motion?
We want to repeal both sections because both sections are abhorrent to any normal thought. We don't want predators being able to sexualize children.
Thank you. Anyone else? Speaking against the amendment?
I'm Diana Richards, SD 30, to speak against the amendment. Sorry, these two obscenity exemptions from the penal code need to stay in this plank. It is a part of the Stop Sexualization of Children priority. The reason why it's also in there is because this is based on fraudulent science and actually criminal sexual abuse of children by Dr. Alfred Kinsey.
You're for putting the exemption to repeal that piece of the code, yes?
Yes, I'm for repealing the piece of the code.
For the amendment.
Okay. So that I'll have you down as speaking for the amendment.
Okay, thank you very
And your
much.
time's up. Perfect. Yes, on mic 2.
Point of order.
Please take your point
Chairman,
of
you
order.
have called for votes for the underlined on the screen before there was ever anything underlined on the screen. The last amendment was exactly the same. We had already voted on the amendment before it appeared on the screen. So would you please wait?
We did not vote on this yet.
On the last one, not this one, but on several of them, you've called for the reading on the screen, the underline, and it wasn't up there yet. So would you just wait just a second till it is up there so we can actually see it and then vote on it?
Yeah, I thought it was up on the screen last time, but I make mistakes too, so if I did, I apologize, and I will try to do
earlier
it.
too, but if you would, I thank you.
I am definitely not infallible, as you see. Okay, it's up there now. You see. Oh, I gotcha. So here's the deal. I'm looking at a different screen than you are. So if the audiovisual people can make sure, instead of focusing on me, to focus on the language in the platform, that would be preferable. And can we verify, Mr. Novus, that this is the language?
I'll just do a motion.
Mr. Novus, can you please verify this is the correct language?
Yes, it is.
So you would add that language and leave the language as it is, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we are now voting on the amendment to add the underlined language to plank number 188. And it's up on the screen. I'm checking. Thank you, by the way. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. The motion passes and the language is adopted. We are out of time. We're moving on to the next section, mic number 3. Oh.
I wanted to do a point of order. I'm Joanne Luring from SD 27.
Please.
And it was on the civil injustice. Can I do that?
Well, a point of order would be a violation of the rules.
Well, okay, what I want to know is everything under that, you have to vote yes or no?
A point of information?
Okay, point of information.
And what plank are we looking at?
Okay, like if I didn't like
What number?
172.
The equal parenting plank.
Right, because
Okay.
right now, parents that have first, third, fifth weekend have 48%.
Okay, she's debating it, so she's out of order.
This is discussion. I can answer your point of information. The answer is yes, it's an up or down vote on the Scantron on the entire section. So you would either vote it up or down, either leave it or eliminate it.
That's not good.
Please proceed, Mr. Patrick.
Mr. Chairman, I submit for discussion.
I'm sorry, not the entire section. It's the plank. I misspoke. So if you vote on 172, it's the whole section. I mean, see, I did it again. Whew. The whole plank. Thank you.
Plank
Please
by
proceed.
plank by plank. Mr. Chairman, I submit for discussion the 8th section of the platform entitled State Affairs. Under this section are planks regarding heritage preservation, family and gender issues, pro-life, land use, and state governance.
Okay, we are taking up the State Affairs section. Let me take Mike 4.
Hello, my name is Aaron Wright. I'm from Senate District 4. I would like to make a motion to strike plank 216 from the platform, and if possible, I'd like to speak to this motion.
Okay. Please. Second by who?
Anthony Lodi, Senate District 12.
Okay, we got 1 minute for, 1 minute against. Go ahead, Mike 4. Do you want to speak in favor of your motion?
Yes, please. First, 216 is unnecessary because 217 covers everything that is necessary regarding the protection of the preborn. Furthermore, this plank is very poorly written. We are placing in our platform wording in point I that says a mother can perform an abortion on herself and sell the body parts and be completely excluded from any criminal prosecution. This is disgusting. Dear friends, this is not equal protection under the law, and this contradicts our legislative priority on abolishing abortion. Furthermore, this contradicts plank 36 in the Republican platform, which is equal protection for the preborn. Dear friends, we must stand firmly upon equal protection of the preborn. This is something that is grounded in the law of God.
Time. Thank you. And speaking against Mike 2.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Dr. John Seago, SD 14, President of Texas Right to Life. Chairman, delegates, I oppose this amendment that would weaken our pro-life Republican Party of Texas platform. Because of the work of Republicans like you all, the Supreme Court is about to overturn Roe v. Wade, the worst Supreme Court decision in our history. It is about to be a relic of the past, not because of the Democrats, but because of you all who have fought for life session after session. We do not need to back away from our strong platform. The last item on that list in 216 shows that we have to prosecute abortionists ourselves as Texans because these Democrat DAs are going to go around the law even if we make abortion illegal on the books. That's the commitment that this party has had to the pro-life movement. We should not strike this amendment. Vote no on this. We need to stay strongly pro-life.
Thank you. The time's up. We'll now vote on the amendment to strike the pro-life portion of the platform on 216. All in favor of striking section 216 entitled pro-life, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The noes have it. The motion fails. We have
Opposed
a
or
white light
overwhelming?
over here on 2.
I would like to make a point of order that we read the full amendment that we are voting on before we are asked those for or against. It is put on the screen, but not read, and it's being called for question before everyone has a chance to understand or read it fully. Just read it out loud and then ask those for.
We did, because it was actually striking language, so I couldn't read an amendment that's striking language necessarily. But I will try to slow it down to try to give everybody a chance to understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please proceed, Matt. That section.
Mr. Chairman, I submit for discussion the 9th section of the platform entitled Government and Election Integrity. Under this section are planks Government Operations and Elections.
Yes, Mike 2.
Hi, yes, Mr. Chair. My name is Greg Murphy, SD 14. I would like to make a motion to amend the plank 241, Fair Elections Procedures, starting at line 1352.
1352, okay.
My amendment, to allow, by open records request, a bit-by-bit forensic imaging of all electronic devices, including servers, at central counting immediately before and after each election.
Okay, and you would insert that where? Name and SD, by the way, and we need a second name for a name and SD.
Second.
Jay Mitchell, SD4. I second the motion.
Thank you. Can you state your name and SD again? The
Sure.
secretary missed.
Greg Murphy, SD 14.
Thank you.
Insert a subsection.
Sorry, we're pulling up the copy. I want everybody to know what they're reading. We're doing good on time, though.
So this is on fair
Would
election
you like
procedures.
to, while he's putting that up here, and I promise I'll wait for it before we vote, would you like to speak in favor of your motion?
Yes, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the same agency that said in 2020 that we had the most secure election in history, 2 weeks ago issued an advisory listing 9 vulnerabilities of electronic voting systems. All 9 of these were warned of vulnerabilities to hacking and malicious code introduced into these systems. The images that we're requesting would allow us to find evidence of these crimes. Additionally, as a 5-time election judge in a school in Travis County, almost all polling locations are in the orbit of Wi-Fi, largely unsecured Wi-Fi. I asked the principal of my school, in accordance with Texas election code, to shut down any wireless equipment within 100 feet of any election device. That principal on 2 occasions refused me. I told her the law, she refused again. I've talked to many election judges in community centers, in businesses, etc. All of them have Wi-Fi within 100 yards of those election machines.
Thank you. And the language is up there now. I'll restate it before the vote. On mic 4, we have a white light.
This is Ms. Molly Ruth Mockamel, SD 26. Chairman, I have a question for the author of the amendment.
You would have to...
Point of information.
You'd have to direct points of information to the chair. However, if you'd like to speak for or against, you can certainly state your questions.
I did say chairman, sir.
Okay, well, you can ask me a point of information if you would like.
What does the author of the amendment mean by forensic imaging? This mic is strange.
I'm sorry.
Or the sound equipment or something. I speak this. Okay. Thank you. I love you all.
It's not proper to ask a point of information to the author of the amendment, though I understand you want the information. I would say that our platform would be interpreted to someone who reads it as it would generally be understood if you read it in a book, since the author of the amendment would not be there to interpret it for a reader. Mike 4. Speaking against, we still have 1 minute.
Tony Robertson, SD3. I'm speaking against 241. A would be yet another unfunded mandate that I don't know that a very small rural counties could afford or even implement. And also, number C is way too vague. Just speak on. Yeah, I think it'd be an unfunded mandate that would not be able to be executed in very small Senate districts.
Thank you. We still have 30 seconds about against if anybody wants to use it. Seeing none. Go ahead on mic 2.
Point of clarification.
That's not
the
a
word
thing.
is allow. The word is not require. The word is not force. The word does not make fun. The word is allow.
I appreciate it. That's argument.
Okay,
But
third parties could come in and request it by open records.
Thank
They
you,
might
sir.
have to pay for it.
Thank you. We are going to move to a vote, and I'll make sure it's up there. I will read it. In plank number 241, Fair Elections Procedures, the amendment is to add the language underlined, which says, allow by open records request a bit-by-bit forensic imaging of all electronic devices, including servers, at central counting immediately before and after each election. All in favor of the amendment and adding those words, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes and the language is adopted. The time for this section has expired. Matt, will you please go to the next section?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I submit for discussion the 10th and last section of the platform entitled National Defense and Foreign Affairs. Under this section are planks regarding border security, immigration, and foreign affairs.
Is there any discussion on this section of the platform? Mike 1.
I have a point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Please state your point of information.
I would like to suspend the rules to go back to the Business and Commerce and Transportation section to protect churches under the COVID response section.
That is not a proper point of information. However, you could certainly make a motion to suspend the rules.
I would like to
and
make...
if you do so, I would ask that, can you do it after we get through this section?
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mike 3.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Robert Coyle, Senatorial District number 3, home of the only true Batman. I have a question concerning 259H. It states, and this is a point of information, only persons known to be legal entrants shall be released in the U.S. population. Does that not also mean that no persons of illegal status should be released in the U.S. population? Because over? Well, that's my question.
The chair is not advised as to the meaning of the language. I would say look at the plain meaning of the language in interpreting a platform plank. Let's go to 4 real quick.
James Peinado, SD 29. Motion to strike plank 252, defeat terrorism.
So you are a motion to amend?
No, just strike the entire thing. Amend by striking, sorry.
Thank you. Is there a second? No second. The motion fails for lack of a second. On mic number 1.
Mr. Chair, I have a point of information.
Please state your point of information.
Darcy Hasty, SD 24. My point of information would be on the minority report 172. I respectfully request to know who struck their names off of the minority report so everybody knows who signed and who struck their names.
I'm going to make a motion to go back and to suspend the rules and go back to Well, he said that anybody that tries to do that to respectfully wait
It was, the answer is Gebhardt, SD 9, and Hill, SD 23. The time for this section's expired. I said I would come back to mic number 1 after this section for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to this is Zach Maxwell, SD 22. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and go back to the criminal justice section and take up the minority report for 172.
Okay. Yeah, I was recognizing the person who I promised to recognize from there for the motion to suspend the rules.
My apologies.
I hear you.
Is it in order now, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, let me get mic number 2 who's waving on a point of, but yes, and then I'll go to you. Go ahead.
Point of order. I only heard 2 of the minority reports, SD 9 and SD 23. Who was the third one?
There was no third one. There was no third. They just needed 2 on that one. Go ahead, ma'am. On mic number 1.
Mary Kay Maxwell, SD 7. I took my written motions earlier to the stage. I move to suspend the rules and to go back to the Business, Commerce, and Transportation section under section called COVID Response to amend section 67 and 68 as follows. COVID-19 liability, businesses...
Hold on. Ma'am, first of all, you need to suspend the rules. So
Okay.
It would be a motion to suspend the rules to go back to make an amendment.
I second.
On which section are we talking about?
Business and Commerce section, COVID response,
Okay.
67 and 68.
We have a motion and we have a second.
Jackie Halliburton, I second. SD 7.
Okay. All in favor of suspending the rules and going back to the Business and Commerce section, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The noes have it. The motion fails. Matt, please proceed with the resolutions. We're going to do the resolutions, and then we'll handle the voting on the platform, because we can do the resolutions by voice vote. Yes, on mic 2.
Mr. Chairman, a point of information. Would it be appropriate to submit to the editing committee that the words should be replaced with the word shall throughout the platform, because we are a positive party?
You can submit it to the committee, yes. Matt, please proceed, lay it.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that for consideration, the first resolution that is attached at the end of the report of platforms and resolutions.
Is there any discussion on the resolution of the 2020 election? Or debate guidelines are still in effect? I have mic 3.
Well, I'm sorry.
Give me a...
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Bill Eastland, Senate District 22. I have a point of information. My question is, are we going to have a hard deadline for adjournment and also a different hard deadline for turning in the Scantrons? Could you please advise?
We are approaching 4 o'clock, but not necessarily a hard deadline. However, I know a lot of people want to get home. We have 2 resolutions to do. As soon as we're done with those 2, we will then proceed to the Scantron voting on the platform. And as soon as we turn them in, we are done.
Mr. Chairman, I've heard that we can turn the Scantrons up to 5 o'clock, but after that, we all need to get out of this room. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's the hard deadline, yes.
Right. I just wanted to make sure everybody understands they can still complete their test even though we've adjourned.
Correct. We're going to do... Yeah, I'm going to recognize mic 1, please. Mic 1.
Is it on? Brian Bodine, Senate District 16. I'm the author of this resolution on the 2020 election, and if it is deemed to be germane, I would like to offer the following amendment to the resolution. 3 copies have just been turned in and an email has been sent. Is it?
Please state your proposed amendment.
Will do. Be it resolved, and this would be added as the next be it resolved, we support the due process rights of the protesters charged with the crimes stemming from the events on January 6, 2021. We believe that the rights of those charged with crimes have been violated. Be it further resolved that we reject the narrative promoted by the mainstream media and Democrats in Congress that the events at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 were an insurrection, and that acts of sedition were committed by participants in those events. Thank you.
Certainly this is a decision apart from the merits of the resolution, but the subject matter of the resolution number 1 is the 2020 election, not what happened afterwards. However, the SREC will be meeting several times over the next year, and additional resolutions can be submitted to the SREC as well. So point of order is sustained, and we can't consider that.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Mic 2.
Me. Holly Plemons, SD10. I would like to ask to suspend the rules to go back and just make an amendment for 1 word in 106 on line 575.
Do me a favor. First of all, that's not in order right now because we're taking up something else. However, if you would bring it up to the secretary, give it to a page, they can run it up. We'll give it to the corrections committee. So when there's a 1-word issue, we'll have the corrections committee look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. On 4, please.
I have a request for information. Lauren Landivar, SD9.
Yes, please state your request.
Okay, So we have taken up the first resolution, and I know that we had said each section gets 2 minutes. I had thought that you could look at either resolution in the 2 minutes, or are we doing 2 minutes per resolution? Because if we are just looking at one, the time will get used, and then no one will be able to speak on two.
No, I was taking each resolution as a separate section, even though it was printed on the same page. I think that was just stylistic. In our form, it was two separate. So we need a speaker for if someone wants to speak for the resolution or against the resolution number one, that would be in order. Because we're out of time. And four.
Mr. Chairman, it's Weston Martinez, SD 25, speaking for this resolution because the state of Texas is a sovereign state with a sovereign constitution, and the rights of our citizens were violated when the federal government came in and took our citizens into custody without notifying any law enforcement. That is a violation of our rights as a state. This is the violations of the rights as our citizens, and that's why I rise in support of this amendment.
The resolution, I'll remind you, is on the 2020 election. Mic number one.
Together.
I am also for this resolution as it pertains to the 2020 events directly, and due process should be our answer here. My name is Andy Gonzalez with SD 30.
Thank you. And mic number four, speaking against.
Thank you. Robert Bartolome, Senate District 14. I'm speaking against the resolution. Respectfully, the state of Texas was won legitimately by President Trump. I don't think this body needs to consider what happened in other states. While it's totally legitimate for people to question the results of the election, I think we need to remain a forward-looking party and focus on 2024 and returning a Republican to the White House. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get this before we move to a vote. Mic two.
Brian McAuliffe, SD 21, point of information.
Please state your point.
The planks end at number 273. The resolutions are numbered 1 and 2. Would the resolution number 1 be 274 and the following 275?
I want to be really clear. We're doing the resolutions right now, and thank you for that, because I do want to be very clear. We're doing the two resolutions by a voice vote right now. So they will not be on your Scantron. I know it's confusing because of the two numbers. Ignore the two numbers on the resolution. So we'll now move to a vote on the resolution number one for the 2020 election. All in favor of the resolution, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The resolution passes. We'll now move on to the second resolution against the Gang of 20 gun bill. We have mic number one.
Zach Maxwell, SD 22. Before we move on, I would like to move to suspend the rules to be able to take up previous section, criminal justice, plank 172 for parental rights, and adopt the minority report.
Is there a second?
Would you like to second?
Anna Odenhall, SD1, second.
Okay. All in favor of amending the rules to go back to the, which section was it?
That's the minority report.
Criminal justice. To go back to section 172, equal parenting. All in favor of suspending the rules and going back to section 172, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All against?
No!
The noes have it. The motion fails. We will begin. Matt, will you lay out resolution number 2, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move consideration of the second resolution found at the end of the platform and resolution document.
Thank you. We will open debate on the resolution. Is there anyone who wants to speak in favor of the resolution? We will take Mike. Let's do Mike 3. Sorry, I was going there too much.
Wait, Mike 2?
Mike 3?
Mike, oh. Well, Mr. Chairman, my name is Lake Rahman. I'm from SD 17. I put in a motion to suspend the rules and go back to resolution number 252 that you just pointed. And I would like to be the one to second the motion that you had asked for us.
Those are going down pretty heavy right now, so I probably wouldn't go for it. Let's go to Mike number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carl McConnell, SD 13. Previously, you all had added a plank at the end of a section, but no number was assigned. You said you were going to renumber.
We will be clear on that, yes.
Is there a way just to make that the last number so all the numbers stay?
That's why we're doing it that way, yeah. So once we're done, we will, while you're voting, add it to the end, and we'll give you the numbers. We'll be clear on it.
Thank you, sir.
Wait till the end of it. Let's do, yes, Mike 1.
Mr. Chairman, Brandon Kaiser, SD 7, point of information.
Yes.
I was wondering if it would be at all possible for us to get the updated language prior to us voting, if there would be enough time for that.
Updated language for what?
For the planks that we're voting on, because a lot of them have been changed from what's in the booklet.
I mean, no, we can't. It's like several days to get those printed out. However, they will be on the screen. You can ask us if you want to see anything else.
Thank you.
Thanks. We need speakers for or against, by the way, on this, because the time has expired on this section. Seeing none, we'll go here and then we'll do it. Well, do you want me to? Let's do Mike 2, quick.
Mr. Chairman, SD 24, Marcia Strickler, point of information.
Please state your point of information.
Sir, on the ballot, Scantronic ballot, there has been forward that the identification number needs to have zeros after their numbers, or this will not be accepted in the scan. We need a clarification on that.
So if you're talking about...
Okay, go ahead.
If you're talking about, for example, your congressional district, if you put in 09, it'll be accepted. You don't need to put anything after that. If you're talking about your county ID, if you put in 170, that'll be sufficient. You don't need to, on the left side of the scan, you don't need to put in zeros all the way to the right. You don't need to do that.
Thank you. Speaking in favor of Mike 3.
Randy Dunning, SD 2. This resolution is outstanding. The red flag laws must be understood as a violation of the anti-swatting plank that we have in our platform. This actually is institutionalized swatting, and we need to take that down. And I also approve highly of rebuking those who have gone against our Republican traditions and have made dirty deals with the Democrats and didn't get anything for us.
Let's go to Mike number 2.
Mr. Chairman, this is Dave Gebhardt, SD9. I submitted this resolution and made sure it got through before we closed off the platform's final report. There's a line in the sand, and I think we do need to rebuke those who would collaborate to take away our rights.
Thank you. We have time's up. We'll now take a vote. All in favor of resolution number 2 against the Gang of 20 gun control bill, please indicate by saying aye. All against? The ayes have it unanimously, almost.
Yeah, that was a unanimous vote.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Now,
overwhelming support for that resolution to
Mr.
against
Chairman,
the gang
we
of
are
20.
done. Matt, you are
It's the,
recognized to explain the voting.
So I think we've already covered most of it. Everyone has their Scantron. We've talked about, you should be getting it. You'll turn it in to your SD caucus chair or their nominee. They will turn that collection into the office in 216. Those will be secured and taken to Austin to be scanned by RPT. When we finish, or when we start up with the voting, as the chairman said, we will be putting up the 2 newly approved planks on the screen. Those will be the next 2 items after you run through the 273 planks. So the 2 new planks will be 274 and 275, as you'll see up on the screen here in a few minutes. And I think that should cover it.
Okay. Also, we're going to have the secretary talk about the numbers of the planks that were added, which won't be in your booklet.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegates, please be reminded that identification is a 3-digit number corresponding to your county. To get that number, if you don't have it already, you need to talk to your delegation chair or your caucus chair. Again, you are starting that 3 digits on the left side of the identification section on the Scantron. Grade on the Scantron corresponds to your SD. If you have a single-digit SD, please put 02, 03, 0, whatever. As Chairman Patrick indicated, numbers 1 through 273 are the platform planks that were recommended by the committee. The 2 new planks added today, which we will put on the screen shortly, will be 274 and 275 on the Scantron. If the production team could please put up the PDF called Sample Ballot Plank by Plank Voting on Screen to instruct the delegates, please.
Okay.
A reminder also, excuse me, sorry, that include is an A or T, and do not include is F, also called B on the Scantron. The first 2 bubbles in each line of the Scantron. And can we put up that PDF?
We're going to put the added planks up on the screen. Okay, I'm going to take. A motion's not in order right now unless it's a point of information before we stand at ease. Mike 1.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes.
A resolution.
Well, it does appear that
Damian
the
Bond, SD
real work
18,
of
Fort
the convention has concluded, and now it is up to the delegates to fill in their Scantron sheets. I've got one. And filling mine in, and basically looking at the platform plank by plank. And so, this is the opportunity, and this is how the platform is adopted. A lot of people who are Democrats have never actually read the Republican platform, and a lot of Republicans have never read the Democrat platform, and this is something that is something everyone should do and should consider, because at least you understand the basis and what it means to be a Republican or be a Democrat, and there is a tremendous growth in the Republican Party, because a lot of Hispanics especially are gravitating to the Republican Party primarily because of the family values, and a lot of blacks because of the family values that the party talks about. However, it's also important to understand that the Republican Party is the party of equality. It was Abraham Lincoln and a Republican Congress that ended slavery. It was a Republican Congress that approved the Civil Rights Bill up against the votes of Democrats. And Lyndon Johnson, when he signed the bill into law, he was initially opposed to it, but he signed the bill into law and stated somewhat famously or infamously that will have the ends voting Democrat for the next 100 years. And the fact that the media has so skewed the conversation or the facts behind what a Republican is versus a Democrat it should be unsettling to anyone who is a fair-minded individual. And I want to define the difference between what I consider a liberal and a leftist. I have many liberal friends, who, for instance, are opposed to, or believe in gun control and who are pro-abortion. We have respectful conversations, and we don't shout each other down. We listen to one another, and we respect one another's opinion. A leftist is someone who absolutely opposes anything that you believe. If you don't agree with them, then you are the enemy. And we should be able to be amicable. We should be able to have discussions, and we should be able to argue through points, because that's the only way that I think our nation can survive, is if we're willing to talk to one another. But I would encourage anyone who has never taken a look and read the Republican platform, especially the Texas State Republican platform. This is one of the most in-depth platforms and best way to define what a Republican is than you'll ever find from any other state. We spend a lot of time, as you saw at this convention. I spent a lot of time with the Legislative Priorities Committee, or most of my broadcast this week was with Legislative Priorities Committee, primarily because the Platform Committee is divided into 10 different subcommittees, and covering all 10 was for one person, for me, was just too much. So I focused on legislative priorities, but what came out of the Platform Committee is a direct result of what came out of the Senate districts conventions, the county, which is the direct result of what came out of the county conventions, which is direct result of what came out of the precinct conventions. This is what you're seeing behind me is the grassroots of the Republican Party, and this is why John Cornyn was almost booed off stage and was not well received, and for the first time in the history of the state party of Texas. And I've never missed a Republican state Republican convention since turning the age of 18, since being able to vote. I've been at every one of these conventions, never seen anything like what I saw with John Cornyn, and the fact that he is basically betraying the state party by working to create more gun laws and restrict our Second Amendment rights, which is a fundamental right that most of us Republicans believe. Well, Republicans believe. So that's part of our platform. It is clear that we believe that the only way to stop a bad man with a gun is with a good guy with a gun, and that gun-free zones are the primary. There's a reason why gun-free zones are the choice for mass murder, for those mass shooters, is because they're soft targets and there's few people with guns that can shoot back, and that I think says a lot. Now, what Senator Cornyn has done with our by working with Democrats to try and add more restriction to the gun laws is infuriating this body behind me. And these delegates, this is the grassroots of the state of Texas. These are the people who are informed about They're informed about the party. They're informed about how their elected officials vote. They help get these people elected. They walk door to door. So this is the most active part of the Republican Party of Texas. And John Cornyn, by the way, when he came, he spent most of his time, at least 40% of his time, especially in his opening arguments, trying to explain why he's such a gun rights advocate, that he's a champion for the Second Amendment, on the heels of his effort to work with Democrats and the Biden administration to curtail that. It was the reason he was booed, and the reason that the jeers continued, and that was yesterday. That was on yesterday's show, broadcast. You can watch it for yourself. You can see how the entire. You can see the entire speech. You can hear exactly the reception that he got. The reason he kept getting booed is because he kept trying to tell people what a great champion of the Second Amendment he was. And this group behind me, these delegates, don't want to be patronized. They don't believe in reframing messages. If you're going to vote a certain way and you're not going to stand up for the principles, well, be man enough to say, yeah, I didn't stand for you guys. He'd get a heck of a lot further and a lot more respect from the delegates than what he did, which was basically insulting every one of the the delegates here that had worked to get him elected, by the way, initially. But clearly he is one of the reasons why we need term limits. In the Constitutional Convention, which is one of the platform planks that highly fought for and is one of the legislative priorities, hopefully, that it will pass as one of the 8 legislative priorities for the state of Texas. We hope that will be a reality at some point very soon, because there's no way members of Congress will ever vote to limit the terms of their office, as most of them. And if you're a Democrat watching this, even you should see the wisdom in this. It's shocking to me to think that, regardless of what party you're in, that you could be against limiting the terms of office for office holders. The idea of Congress was, and the framers of the Constitution, whether or not you respect them or not, the framers believed that no one would want to make a career out of politics, because, number one, they weren't paid to be in Congress. Number two, it was an incredible hardship. Think about the fact that they didn't have cars back then. They had horses and carriages, and they didn't have roads. Their livelihood, the farms and their families, they had to leave for months on end. And so they never imagined that anyone would want to make a career out of being in public office. But that is exactly what's happened today, and this body wants to see that change, and that's part of the Constitutional Convention that we have in our platform and as part of our legislative priorities. But this is the way the sausage is made, if you will. But this is maybe an arduous process and maybe boring for some. But this is what makes Texas great. I hope that at the very least, that you'll take time to look at the Republican Party platform, the state Republican Party platform, look at the Democrat Party platform, take a look for yourself and just identify, I agree with this, I don't agree with this. Determine what you are, not because your parents are Republican or Democrat, not because the media says you've got to be a Democrat or Republican, they don't say that you should be a Republican, but be a free thinker. Think for yourself for a change. And for those of you who don't think for yourself and who just kind of go along to get along, maybe look at what this platform has to say. Feel free to reach out to me. Bob at bunkerbob.com is my email address. Be glad to have a conversation with you as well. And I really do hope that this whole process has been for you educational and enjoyable, because it sure has been for me. Well, we will see you soon. I'll be doing a show, be broadcasting probably next week after be back in studio, and so I look forward to that. Thank you so much for being with me through this week, and I hope that it was helpful and enjoyable for you. I am Bunker Bob Steinhagen from Rockwall, Texas, the great Senate District 30, and this has been the 2022 Texas GOP Convention from Houston, Texas. May the Lord bless you and your family.